Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Open. It is Monday, September 22nd. We are live as we are heading into the official last week of September. This is going to be a pretty exciting week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about as we get into this week, and we've got a lot of different moves already happening in the pre-markets right now that we will be discussing. But this is the official last week of September. This is actually historically the worst week over the past, I believe it's 72 years for the S&P 500. It's this last week of September, and I know this month has historically been the worst month of September, and that's not what we've really seen in terms of the S&P 500 performance throughout the first 22 days of September. But this week tends to be the worst. We do have a red pre-market as we head into this week. It would be quite funny or ironic, I could say, if we don't end up getting the worst week of September happening historically in this week. But we're going to see how this ends up playing out. We have had a good, really strong 3 weeks. And if we do have a bit of a pullback, I think people are ready for it. I think people also are ready to buy the dip. But going into the end of the week, we're going to see how this ends up playing out. Dan Ives will be joining the show at 10:45. So we're going to be getting his thoughts as well on what's going on in the broader markets. Obviously, he launched that new company called Orbs, which is a treasury for WorldCoin. So we'll get some of his updated thoughts on why he's interested in the human authentication aspect of WorldCoin, Bitmine, etc., all that stuff. And then we will keep going from there. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Iran is exploding in the pre-markets. There are some updates for why. Iran right there up 9.3%, 42.37. If I knew it was going to 40 after I bought at 28.90, which I thought I was buying at a bit of an expensive level because it's like the stock was at 15, I'm buying at 30, now it's at 42. If I knew it was going to go up 40%, I would have bought more. But 42.39, they updated the amount of GPUs they have from AMD and NVIDIA, so we'll talk about that, and that essentially increases their computing capacity in their data centers, which is why that stock is getting some momentum. So that's up 9% right here. SoFi hit 31 overnight. Currently, it's at 29.42. I mean, I would imagine that breaks 30 throughout the day, and it'll be very exciting to see SoFi break 30. We were live yesterday on the market close when we did see, or on the overnight future stream when we saw SoFi break above 30, which was very exciting. S&P 500 right here, 661.96. That's down about 0.26%. Robinhood will be added to the S&P 500 today, along with AppLovin. Robinhood and AppLovin both were hitting new all-time highs yesterday in the overnight markets. AppLovin right here, 648, and Robinhood 123.38. It's not really helping Hood that Ethereum and Bitcoin are taking a bit of a nosedive. There was about $1 billion worth of crypto longs that got liquidated last night due to Sunday shenanigans. So we'll see if that continues. But that Ethereum dip is also hurting BMNR, which is down about 5% in the pre-markets. Although we have some big updates on BMNR that we'll talk about in just a second. And you would think BMNR would be down way more. It's still trading at a pretty aggressive premium compared to its competitors in the treasury space. And so that's why Bitmine, although it is down 5%, it's not down as aggressively as you would think it should be down, given that Ethereum is starting to get hit. So we'll talk more about that and see what we've got going on from there. Yes, this week we actually get hit in the S&P 500. Today we actually get into the S&P 500. So I don't know if it happens throughout the day or after hours, but it will be happening sometime today. And I'm sure some funds have already started buying, and so you've already seen a little bit of momentum on Robinhood based on getting into the S&P. All right, let's get into it. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Last week of September, we're going to see how this one ends up playing out, if we can hold on to our September games as we get into the month of October. And we'll keep going from there. And just real quick before we get started, again, thank you to everyone who wished a congratulations for the 100,000 subscribers. It was a big moment in my life. My mom threw a little bit of a party with all of our relatives from India joining on Zoom on Sunday. I had no idea she was going to do that. So Mom, if you're watching, I love you. Thank you for that. It made me feel very, very special and deeply appreciate it. And thank you to all of you guys who have reached out over the weekend. It's a big deal. I'm excited for it, but I want to get back to work. And it's one of those days where one of those moments where you celebrate, you take a day. I took the weekend to reflect, and now we're back at it. And the next goal probably is 200,000. And we keep going from there. So there you go. Thank you, everybody. Let's get into what we've got to do. All right, so Bitmine, let's talk about that. That's a big update this morning. It's actually pretty damn bullish, even though the stock is down 5%. So here are the two major updates. Number one, the company now has 2.4 million Ethereum at about 4.5K. So they are down on their Ethereum holdings because Ethereum's at like 4.2 right now. However, not bad, right? They own now 2% of the total 5% of Alchemy that Tom Lee has been talking about. And I think that's pretty damn bullish for BitMine to be able to have 2% of the total supply of Ethereum, which is pretty exciting, dude. I mean, once they get to 5%, I think it's going to be even cooler to see what they're going to be able to do in terms of staking. It is the 24th most traded stock daily. $3.5 billion every single day is traded on BitMine, and $11.4 billion is the total net asset value in regards to their Bitcoin, their Orb stake, and their Ethereum. So they have about $11.4 billion on the books when it comes to BitMine. Now, here's the second announcement that was really the most important thing that'll require a little bit of digging to understand exactly why they did it. But BitMine announced a securities purchase agreement to sell 5.2 million shares of common stock at $70 a share. The stock on Friday ended at 61. So it was a 14% premium, and warrants to purchase up to 10.4 million shares at 87.50 each, expecting to raise approximately $365 million from the stock offering and potentially up to $1.2 billion, including warrant exercises, aka the stock was at 61. They were able to convince people to buy it at 70 in addition to warrants, and we'll talk about why, in order to raise more capital, which is pretty damn bullish if they're able to convince people that, hey, we're going to sell you this at a higher price than it is right now because you know and we know that it's probably going to get to that price. Tom Lee said, in our view, this 14% premium reflects not only strong institutional investor interest in the BitMine story, but also confidence in our execution as a company. Institutional investors have told us BitMine remains the only large cap US stock to give investors direct exposure to Ethereum by selling shares at 70 a share compared to our 61.29 closing price. This is materially accretive to existing shareholders, as the primary use of proceeds is to add to our Ethereum holdings. If they do end up buying Ethereum today, based on raising this capital, then obviously they are getting a nice discount compared to their average that they have on Ethereum, which is about 4,500, because today they'll be able to buy it at 4,200. Now, what does this actually mean? So our friend Chris Patel gave some analysis right here on X that kind of explains what's going on. So the people that invested in this private offering paid a $10 premium to current BMNR price, and they got a call option, which is kind of how you should think of the exercising of warrants, that is currently trading around 16 to 17 bucks with nearly similar expiration dates and strikes. The strike is basically 87.50 by March 2027. So if you were to buy an 87.50 call option by March of 2027, that call option would be about 17 bucks. They paid $70, right? Is a $10 premium to 61. And they got the 87.50 warrants included in that deal. So they basically paid 10 bucks to get 17 bucks worth of exposure. What does that mean? If the stock isn't above 87.50 by 2027, March, their warrants expire worthless. If the stock isn't above 60 by the same date, they basically overpaid for the shares. So essentially, the people that bought this $365 million worth of BMNR are saying that they probably believe the stock is above 87.50 by March of 2027. And as a result, they get a discount compared to buying it on the open market. And what Chris said is, seeing the quality of investors that did the deal, my guess would be that they were banking on a substantially higher price of BMNR. And I would agree with that argument. So yes, it's basically like options, except it's warrants that eventually will dilute. It's just they're paying $10 for $17 worth of warrants. Now they're taking on risk, right? Because if the stock doesn't get to the levels that it needs to get to by March of 2027, maybe Ethereum crashes, the economy crashes, whatever, then they're not going to be able to get the full exposure that they're looking for. But if kind of things go according to plan and BitMine gets above that 87.50 by March of 2027, it will be dilutive. But in the meantime, that money that Tom Lee gets up front, he's able to buy cheaper Ethereum. And then if Ethereum goes up, obviously that will help the overall MNAV on BitMine. So, I mean, not too bad and pretty exciting for BitMine. Again, the fact that this thing is only down 4% and Ethereum is down about 300 bucks compared to Tom Lee's average on Ethereum. We've already seen the MNAV begin to expand over the past couple of weeks. The fact that it's holding these levels to me is quite incredible. And if it goes down another 5% today, I would not be surprised. But if it is able to hold these levels, I think that's just a lot of investor interest and excitement on this stock in the midst of Ethereum not even doing that well. Now, why is Ethereum down? A lot of people are asking. I think it's Sunday algos. I mean, someone obviously sold a ton of Ethereum. Someone sold a ton of Bitcoin as well. That tends to happen on Sundays. For the past couple of weeks, it's been to the upside. Today or last night, it was to the downside. It is what it is. I don't think it's that serious. And we'll see over the coming weeks if it becomes a trend. But it seems like algos are probably why Ethereum and Bitcoin are taking a little bit of a hit. So that's what we got on BitMine, and we're going to see how that one ends up playing out. Again, ETH right here down at about 4,200 in the pre-markets. Now, one last thing on BitMine is ETHZilla filed for a special shareholder meeting on October 7th, 2025. So in about 2 weeks, there are a lot of rumors that BitMine is going to be acquiring ETHZilla. Potentially, they raised this $365 million not to buy ETH, but to buy ETHZilla and be able to swallow up another ETH treasury. It would not be crazy to imagine that's happening because a lot of these ETH treasuries or treasury companies in general are not able to trade at a premium above NAV, which completely destroys the entire business model. In fact, today, Strive, Vivek's fund, ASST on the NASDAQ, and Semler Scientific announced a Bitcoin treasury merger and all-stock transaction. So you had two Bitcoin treasuries that weren't able to compete independently that have joined forces. It's not crazy to imagine a Tom Lee run BitMine acquiring other Ethereum treasuries, maybe not SBET because SBET's just bigger, but who knows, maybe that could happen in the future. But ETHZilla is much smaller. And so wouldn't be that crazy to see if that ends up playing out. So that's what we got on BitMine. IREN, what is going on there? So that one is up 11.2%. Here is the update on these guys and why they are continuing to get some more momentum right here. So IREN has doubled their AI cloud to 23,000 GPUs. They're now targeting more than 500 million in AI cloud annual recurring revenue in Q1 of 2026. They have 1.9 thousand NVIDIA H100s, 19,000 Blackwells, 1.2 thousand NVIDIA GB300s, and then 1.1 thousand AMD MI350s. The quote from the press release, the addition of AMD hardware alongside with further NVIDIA GPUs broadens IREN's offering and addressable market. So they double their AI cloud infrastructure. That opens up the ability for them to offer different services, especially now that they have the AMD chips as well. And essentially, the overall TAM for what we think of computing in regards to data centers, I think is growing pretty quick. And it's kind of hard to put an exact estimate on it. But the Bitfarms of the world are green as they're transitioning. The Cyphers are green. The Wolves are green. Wolf just got a stake by Google. Cypher right there up 5%. And IREN, which has created not only a massive retail following of people that really found this gem when it was around 10, 12 bucks and saw potential in it, they're actually growing. And they're growing at a rate that is better than a lot of the other Bitcoin miners that have turned into data center plays. And as a result, I think they are getting the premium. Now, does it deserve to be up 11% of the pre-markets? Not exactly sure. You would have to go deeper into this, hey, like what are the implications of all these GPUs mean for their financials? But the fact is, if they have more computing capacity, they're able to offer more cloud services, which means they should be able to increase their revenue. And even if they only do 500 million in 2026, they're trading at 10 billion. Yeah, it's expensive, but if they can double that 500 million to $1 billion, which one would argue if Nebius is able to get 20 billion from Microsoft, IREN should be able to find another 500 million of demand, especially if they have the computing capacity. I mean, it's trading at 10 times sales, which is not the craziest thing in the world if they're going to continue to grow at these like 50% growth rates that they're currently growing at right now. So not bad. Very exciting. It all goes back to NVIDIA, in my opinion. I know NVIDIA has been kind of flat, but some of these other, NVIDIA is also up 30% year to date. A lot of these other gems have not moved as much, or if they have moved as much, it's not been as big of a dollar amount move, given NVIDIA is now a $4.3 trillion company. And as a result, that is happening the IRENs in the world. Yes, the NVIDIA chips are all used in these companies along with AMD. You know, I mean, they bought AMD chips today as well. So for them, whether it's inference training, pre-training, post-training, they want to give whatever they can give to the market as a data center provider. And that's why IREN is continuing to gain momentum. So shout out to those in the chat that are in IREN. I know Muckabee's in the chat. He loves IREN. Ash, who was also at the Miami meetup. Shout out to Ash. I know he's big on IREN for a while. If you've been in IREN, you are getting some excitement here as the market starts to recognize kind of what you're seeing from here. Amit, just to clarify, Tom Lee didn't pay 4.4K ETH. That's just what it was valued at when it was on Friday's close. Oh, interesting. The press release kind of makes it seem like that's their average. Okay, so then what's their average? Huh. Yeah, that is kind of weird, right? Because like when you read the press release, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not their average. Yeah. As of September 21st, the company's crypto holdings are comprised of 2.4 million ETH at 4,497 per ETH. See, that makes it seem like that's their average, but you know, the fact that they're citing Bloomberg means they're citing a quote on the ticker itself. Okay, so if anyone knows their average, let me know. Yeah, the wording of that makes it seem kind of like 2.4 million ETH at 4,400, so that you would think that's the average. But in general, they have 11.7 billion in total with 107 million stake in 8co. $345 million in cash, now potentially $365 million in cash based on if they can complete this offering of 70 million shares, 192 Bitcoin, and then 2.4 million ETH as well. I know there has been some concern about BMNR not being as transparent, and I do agree that those concerns are valid. And like just being able to know what's the net asset value, what exactly is the average you're paying, like simple stats like that. I feel like it's not the craziest thing for them to disclose that every time they do a press release. So that would help. That would, like on this one, they didn't explain what the new updated NAV is. They don't have an updated share count either. The brokerages definitely don't have that data correct either. So that is one thing I would like to see from BMNR, a little bit more transparency on exactly what the NAV is, what the ETH per share is. Like on these types of updates, those are things that probably should be disclosed, and like what their average price for ETH is. So hopefully we can get a little bit more of those details. Some of you guys say 4,100. All right, I will try to find out. There's a couple of different trackers online, so we'll try to see exactly what price we can get. 4,108. Okay, most people are saying 4,108. Yeah, that should be easy to calculate too. I mean, we have all the public purchases, so it's just the shares outstanding that might make it a little bit tougher. All right, cool. So that's what we got on Iren and BMNR. Those are the major updates this morning for them, and we're going to see how the market kind of opens up in the next 27 minutes. Now, here we go. I guess the bigger question for everyone is, do we end out the 4th week of September green? And I'll do a poll right here in the chat on what people are thinking. Do we end out September green? End out the last week of September green? I mean, it would be pretty basic for us to not end out green. It would be pretty different for us to end out green, to have a fully green month of September, which even if we end out, 1 or 2% down this week, we're still going to have a pretty green September. I do think, though, based on just reading a little bit of the timeline this morning, a lot of people are kind of happy that we're red in the pre-markets. I mean, if you guys were on the show last night, a lot of people were feeling a little scared and skeptical and like too much too quick. And you got freaking Oklo that's down 3% right here. It was at 147 last night in the overnight market. So by the way, Wedbush increased their price target on Oklo. I think I'll ask Dan Ives about that when he's on today, to 180. So, I mean, they are keeping the party going on Oklo. But a lot of people are feeling a little scared, right? And the reason they're feeling a little scared is because they're like, hey, this is really quick, and maybe we need to just calm the horses a bit in terms of some of this momentum, which is a fair argument to make. But I also think that the fact that there's that many people that are afraid, the fact that there's that many people that are scared of people posting their year-to-date screenshots on FinTwit, for example, kind of cancels out the amount of people posting their year-to-date screenshots. You have more people complaining about it versus people posting. And that could allow the show to go on, aka we haven't fully reached the top yet. Now, obviously, is there some level of frothiness in the markets? Of course, and I would say Oklo is a prime example of that. But there's also an argument that nuclear energy is going to be important. There's an argument that the TAM is massive. I mean, you can make all these different corresponding arguments. And then the final argument that I think is the most important is if Oklo goes to zero, that does not affect the broader market. It's not like NVIDIA is worth $8 trillion right now, right? Like NVIDIA's, you could argue, appropriately priced given their earnings growth. And so if the Oklo were to go to zero, that's a $20 billion company going down. It's the 423rd most valuable company in the world. I don't think that should affect the broader stock market. Hopefully it doesn't, but we're going to end up seeing what plays out for the end of the week. And I think if everyone's saying that we need to have a red week, maybe that red week doesn't end up playing out. Dan Ives will be on at 10:45 for those that are asking. 10:45, so in about an hour and a half he'll be on, and we'll get his thoughts from there. Yeah, they upgraded to 150, not 180. They upgraded from 80 to 150. So, and I think Dan Ives is the lead analyst on Oklo. So we'll ask him why they upgraded from 80 to 150. But I mean, if they just see more energy demand and Oklo being a key player there, I don't know if I would buy it at these levels, but I could understand theoretically how it maintains this valuation. Question is just how that ends up ultimately playing out. Fed Bostic says he sees little reason to cut rates further for now. All right, so we do have some Fed speak. We got a lot of different events this week. Jay Powell's going to be talking on Thursday or Tuesday. I don't know what he's going to be talking about or where he's going to be talking, but he will be talking at some conference. So we'll see what he has to end up saying. We get new home data on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we get August PCE inflation data, which is also going to be very, very important. And a lot of that macro is obviously going to be affecting the broader economy. The inflation stuff is going to be some of the most important that we'll be looking at later later this week. So that's some of the macro talk we have. One of the new governors, Stephen Marin, we didn't listen to him. We'll probably listen to him a little bit later, but he was on CNBC on Friday. And obviously he was pretty damn dovish. He is one of the handpicked Fed governors by Trump. And so there is a bit of a disagreement there by someone like Bostic, who says, hey, it's no time to cut, or we don't need to further cut, where you have Stephen Moran saying, nope, it is time to cut. And we probably should have more on the cutting side. He also said that we would be lucky to have the National Economic Director of the Economy, Kevin Hassett, as Fed chair. So you have people like Stephen Marin publicly endorsing who the next Fed chair would be. And again, by May of 2026, we will have that next Fed chair. And, we're going to see how aggressive they are ultimately when it comes to cutting rates. Big Bear AI, that one was moving last night. It's at 677. That's up a little bit right there. It was at 704 last night. The overnight market. SoFi again, likely going to hit 30 today. We'll be very excited to see when we get there. 29.43. Google at 252. Grab at 629. Reddit at 256. Amazon at 230. And then you got Meta at 779. Pretty much everything's red in the pre-markets, and I think that's rather normal. Tesla right here is a little green at 431. And the reason why Tesla is green, if people have not seen it yet, is because Elon Musk and Donald Trump reconnected yesterday. Trump did talk about this in his Air Force One sort of like media appearance with some of the people that were on the flight. And basically he said it wasn't that serious, and I'll play that clip in a second, and it wasn't it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was nice to see them at Charlie Kirk's memorial actually reconnect and kind of put their differences to the side and, be able to move forward. As you can see, Trump right there being amicable with Elon Musk. And so as a result, you might have Tesla just pumping based on the sheer fact that there's not that much rivalry between the world's most richest man and the world's most powerful man in regards to Trump. ASML, is that moving pre-markets? Yep, that is moving 4%. I mean, shout out to anyone who bought that freaking ASML dip. That one, absolutely incredible job. I mean, that one really just showing that lithography is not going anywhere. And the reason lithography is not going anywhere is because it's really hard to engage in lithography. And ASML, one would argue, has basically a monopoly on it. Stock got to 650, and it was just one of those, hey, it's an irrational moment in the market. GPUs are not going anywhere. Data centers are not going anywhere. And as a result, likely seeing more momentum in regards to some of these names. Definitely one on ASML. This is what Trump said yesterday about Elon Musk.
Mr. President, everyone's saying that Charlie brought you and Elon back together. Is that true?
Well, Elon came over and said hello. No, it's nothing to do with that. I thought it was nice. He came over, had a little conversation. We had a very good relationship, but it was nice that he came over. Dana White was there, the great Dana White.
And that was it. He goes on to further say that the UFC fight at the White House lawn is going to be pretty epic. So that's it. He said, hey, we had a good relationship, and we were able to connect. And so you got Tesla stock getting a little bit of a premium right there, 431 in the pre-markets. Uday, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate you being here. Chris, thank you for becoming a channel member as well. Beepster, thank you for the 100 pounds. Thank you for putting 100 pounds in your letter. I would have said euros if you didn't. Sorry I missed the 100K party myth, but decided that currently right now is better than ever. Enjoy your 100 pounds, and I wish you more success in your endeavors. Beepster, thank you so much for the 100 pounds. Deeply, deeply appreciate it. I know you've been watching the channel for the past 2.5 years now. So thank you. Thank you for being. There's just so many of you that have been watching the channel for years that are here every single day and continue to contribute. It really means the world to me. So thank you for the 100 pounds, and thank you for the well wishes on 100,000 subscribers as well. Okay, Oracle. You got some updates on Oracle here as well. Our CEO stepped down, and we have 2 new CEOs on Oracle. I don't think this is that big of a deal in terms of like the actual strategic move on Oracle, but you now have 2 co-CEOs, and Oracle has been in the news primarily for 2 other reasons. Number one, the Meta partnership is a big deal. It looks like they're going to be getting a $20 billion deal with Meta, which is going to be very important for their cloud computing. That's going to increase their remaining performance obligations, but also they now own a part of TikTok. And as a result of owning a part of TikTok and getting that Meta deal, and then obviously the OpenAI $300 billion contract that was rumored 2 weeks ago, I mean, you've obviously got Oracle on its path to get to $1 trillion Oracle right here, currently in the pre-markets, slightly down at 307. But the market is pretty excited about that. Now the Oracle CEOs in particular, the new co-CEOs, some facts about them. They are insiders in the company. And one of them was a 2014 hire from Amazon Web Services. He runs Oracle's cloud infrastructure. Makes sense. The other person came from Oracle's acquisition of Primavera Systems, and he oversees industry-specific cloud apps in healthcare, finance, and retail. It makes sense for them to have two cloud-focused CEOs as co-CEOs, because it seems like the majority of Oracle's growth curve over the next, probably call it 10 years, is going to be cloud, especially as they become kind of the fourth hyperscaler to Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. They're not doing as much revenue as those guys, but they're likely going to need to have the capacity to put up the data center cloud computing infrastructure, given the demand is just growing exponentially. And if Google, Amazon, and Microsoft aren't able to complete all that demand, there's going to be third parties like an Oracle that catch a bit, especially because Oracle is also able to give some juicy deals. I think that's why OpenAI went with them over some of the competitors. And so not the worst thing in the world for Oracle, as that stock is headed on its way to $1 trillion. Why is crypto red? Any news? I don't think there's any news on crypto in a meaningful way. I really do think it was Sunday algos. You got Bitcoin right there with a little bit of green candle getting to 113. A lot of longs were liquidated last night that were leveraged longs. So there was about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and Ethereum longs together that were liquidated last night. That has happened on the short side for the past couple of weeks. So this time it's happening to the long side. I really don't think it's anything more than that. Ethereum right there back above 4,200. We have a lot of legislation that is positive. We have a lot of general tailwinds that are positive for crypto that have happened over the past couple of weeks. You got the Trump brothers that were able to put their American Bitcoin treasury company public. I mean, just you have a lot of different things that would make you think you shouldn't be too bearish Bitcoin and Ethereum, but you also have people that are now using these perpetual future contracts to go gig along. And a lot of times that ends up getting liquidated when there's too much leverage in the system. Not to mention you have rate cuts coming, which are bullish. So I wouldn't read much into any of the crypto sell-off at all. I kind of think that's just algos taking place and people getting liquidated, and hopefully create some juicy buying opportunities for some of the crypto derivatives. Yeah, and some selling is healthy. Some selling is definitely healthy to see across the board. The reason Snapchat is up, we saw this last night. Snapchat introduced their new OS software. They call it Snap OS 2 for their AR, VR glasses. The stock was at like 940 last night in the overnight markets. I don't know if the Snap Spectacles, as they call it, are going to be a success. I think Meta's glasses already have a bunch of different issues, and Meta's got to prove that can be a success. I don't know how many people are going to be wearing the Snapchat glasses. Apple is working on glasses. Like Snapchat as a glasses competitor to me is not really something I would take serious. I don't know why the market would pump on Snap's new OS, because at the end of the day, they haven't made any money on glasses. They've not proved it's profitable. It's not in the cultural zeitgeist of people using Snapchat AR over any other type of AR product. So I think it's just pumping off the pure hype that they introduced a new product, not that there's anything real here. I mean, Snapchat's just not a good company. It's not managed as a good company. Having said that, could the stock pump because it's at $8, $9, and could it get to, of course, right? And I've traded Snapchat in the past. It's pumped on similar things like that before. But this is just nowhere near the AI wars, or they're nowhere near competing in the AI wars, particularly for physical hardware like a Meta or an Apple. So I would not be super bullish on that announcement, but nonetheless, that's what's pumping Snapchat in the pre-markets. Why is the answer to sell off always algos? A lot of times it ends up being algos. I mean, usually there's some type of macro reason you could explain for why there's a sell-off, but with crypto in particular, especially on a Sunday night, whether it goes up a lot or down, it usually tends to be algos and liquidations, at least on those Sunday crypto windfalls. So, I mean, we're going to see if it can recover throughout the day, but you already got a little bit of recovery. Bitcoin was at 111 last night. Now it's at 113. Ethereum was at 41. Now it's at 42. I mean, I do not think that was normal for those to take that big of a hit last night, and likely it is because of algos. So that's what we got on crypto. Yeah, and Monday, that's a great point by Cameron. Monday is normally a retracement of last week. You could likely see a little bit of a retracement today that I don't think anyone would feel is weird. Micron has earnings tomorrow. That'll be important. Micron's up 40% in the last week. If you've been holding on to this one patiently, you have been rewarded. I know it was annoying back in the summer when it was barely stuck between like 105 and 110, but it really broke out over the past couple of weeks, or really the past couple of months. And that's why Micron is also getting some momentum. And we're going to see if that one can continue towards the towards the end of the day. Maximilian, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thanks, Amit, for being here every day. Today's my 30th anniversary. Shout out to my wife, Lolita. She is watching right now. I love it. Congratulations on 38 years, 2 years away from 40. That is absolutely incredible. Not easy to be together with someone for 38 years. So congratulations to both you guys, and hopefully you have a great, great anniversary. And thank you both for spending part of the morning of that anniversary with me here today. Sanjay, thank you for the $50. Happy 100,000 Amit. You wouldn't celebrate it, so let us celebrate it for you. Let's effing go. Sanjay, thank you. We did spend a good hour and a half celebrating it on the market open on Friday. And I didn't expect to spend an hour and a half, but you guys sent so many super chats that I ended up staying for that long. So I appreciate it. It means a lot. And now we get back to work because we continue to have to work to analyze these markets every single day so that we can get these juicy gains that we all have. And hopefully we can hold on to these gains as we get into the end of the year. All right, some other headlines we got. Google upgraded from 225 to 285 from Truist. Here's what Truist says. We remain constructive on Google as we believe the company continues to dominate the search market at 90%, even as the generative AI platforms grow users and usage. Our analysis suggests that Google dominates the all-important commercial queries, while AI search accounts for only 1% of total referral traffic. A look at growth in online search volume and use cases suggests the advent of AI chatbots is expanding search's TAM, not cannibalizing it. A totally different story from what we heard over the past couple of essentially months. Increasingly, Google's AI prioritizes informational queries over commercial intent, minimizing the impact on its ad revenue. We're introducing fiscal year 2026 quarterlies and moving our price target to 288 or 285 from fiscal year end of 2026. The other thing that's important about Google, as we checked last night, Gemini is still beating ChatGPT at number one. Gemini is still beating ChatGPT at number one. It's been almost a week and a half now that Gemini has been beating ChatGPT on the overall top apps in the United States, not just productivity, not just free apps, but overall top apps in the United States. Gemini's up there. So we got an article last night that said Grok only has 64 million monthly active users. ChatGPT has 700 million weekly. As per the last update from Sundar, Gemini has 450 million monthly. If Google can get that 450 million monthly to maybe like 300 million weekly, they can start to really begin to compete with ChatGPT that is about 700 million weekly. And being number one on the App Store with Nano Banana as like one of the core catalysts, I believe that's pushing them there, along with Google giving Gemini free to college kids. Like they have a lot of different forms of distribution to get that product out there. That's likely what's happening Google. And it doesn't seem like that's slowing down anytime soon. So you got Google that continues to get its momentum just above 250, and hopefully we can see that one get closer towards 300 by the end of the year. I don't think it has to get up to 300. No one is expecting that, but if it does, that would be very, very fun to see. ASML, again, getting some momentum right here in the pre-markets, continuing to hold on right there, 967. That is up about 3.6%. Gemini is the best model right now for universal usage. I would agree. Also, Gemini 2.5 Ultra in the enterprise is getting way more adoption than a lot of the other models, at least based on some of the articles that I've been seeing. And Zocult says ecosystem makes a difference. What is ChatGPT's current ecosystem? Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you've got YouTube, Gmail, Google Docs, everything inside of one ecosystem, it does make a difference. And I personally am not a user of Gemini every day, but if that ecosystem can start mattering more to me, then it's not that hard to transition. The question is just if there will be a transition for most people. And if it is, then I think that would be pretty exciting. MicroStrategy bought some more Bitcoin, 850 Bitcoin on September 15th to September 21st. They bought it for about $99.7 million. About 115 was the average. Again, this stock has not really been that exciting for the better part of the year now. Year to date, it is up 15%, which is nice, but it is underperforming Bitcoin and a lot of other Bitcoin treasury. It's still up 130% over the past year, so I don't think anyone can complain that much. That's also why Misty has not been doing that well. I think this year for Saylor has been a stacking year more so than anything else. He's revised the amount of dilution that he's been willing to do multiple times this year, probably because he wants to continue diluting and just get as much Bitcoin as possible. And then obviously Bitcoin hasn't run. Like it's been kind of stuck at 110 to 115 until Bitcoin breaks out into that 130, 140 range. You're likely not going to see Strategy have that crazy of a move. However, one thing that could get Bitcoin to be moving higher is G20 nations establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which is what Coinbase CEO thinks is very possible to happen over the next 5 years.
We also saw the United States of America now has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So if the United States government is going to begin holding Bitcoin I think that's going to be a massive driver of demand, and the rest of the G20 countries will probably follow suit. And then the last thing I'd say is that we saw recently the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs by a number of different firms, and Coinbase is actually powering 80% of the custody for those that are out there. But we're seeing a ton of institutional money continue to flow into Bitcoin now that these ETFs are live. So there's a lot of positive tailwinds for Bitcoin, and I think that there's never going to be more than 21 million Bitcoin ever made in the world, and lots of pools of capital still haven't gotten access to it. So that tells me this thing has a long way to run. We also...
And then you had MetaPlanet, another Bitcoin treasury in Japan, added over 5,000 Bitcoin last night as well. So I think the Bitcoin story is going to continue to be exciting. It's just not one of the hottest things right now, even though institutional investors continue to add Bitcoin. And retail's definitely checked out of the trade. I mean, retail investors have obviously flown into BMNR. It's pretty obvious, right? That's a bit more exciting for retail. But I think as Bitcoin makes a larger move, you're going to get a lot of retail investors that are more excited about MicroStrategy and Bitcoin in general. It's just been largely stagnant over the past couple months. So we're going to see how that plays out. Yes, the Wi-Fi, guys, I did fix it. So apparently I said this last night. It's a bit embarrassing, but it is what it is. I've been embarrassing myself for the past 4 years on this channel for your entertainment, and also because I've been pretty stupid sometimes. But apparently the Wi-Fi company gave me a 2.4 gigahertz connection and then a 5 gigahertz connection. And I've been using 2.4 for the past 3 weeks because I didn't realize that if I scroll down on the email, there was like a much healthier connection that I could have applied to. So yeah, I set up the 5 gigahertz last night, and now it's just way faster, dude. I can notice it on my phone. I'm like, holy crap, this is like this. You know, I was paying for some Wi-Fi. Now it feels like I was paying for the right Wi-Fi. So yeah, I don't think we'll have any Wi-Fi issues anymore. But we were running on some pretty shitty Wi-Fi for the past week, and it looks like that's fixed. So yeah, I take back some of my comments on StreamYard. I mean, look, some parts of StreamYard are still really annoying, okay? But my rant on StreamYard on Monday was more so it should have been a Zuck's Wi-Fi type of rant versus a StreamYard type of rant. So I apologize to StreamYard. But yeah, we should be good now. Hulls, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Amit, do you have any thoughts on Lineman, which is a Grab competitor coming to the public stock markets next year? I've been watching you for years. Thank you for teaching me so much about the markets. I don't know that much about Lineman. I will do some research on them if you are saying they're a major Grab competitor. I've heard of Bolt. Bolt is more in the European markets. I know some of you guys probably know about that company. I have not heard of Lineman. The thing about Grab is, I mean, look, Grab is now in a breakout stage. And the question for Grab simply becomes, is there enough momentum to keep the party going in terms of the volume that's coming in? Grab's last week was the highest weekly volume in the history of Grab being a public company. That is not normal. That's just not normal. 100 million shares every single day. I wonder if that can continue. And I kind of think it is going to continue because you just don't, I mean, there wasn't a retail thing. It feels like there was institutional investors coming in and really beginning to purchase this stock, which is why not only the stock moved, but you had a lot more momentum that was excited about the name. And obviously I think retail is getting more interested, but 100 million shares every day cannot be retail. It's just very hard to imagine that, especially because Grab just doesn't have that much of a retail presence still. So if that continues, regardless of whatever competitors go public, I think Grab's core moat is that they are taking market share. The region in Southeast Asia is consolidating. Their margins are getting better. They could be super profitable today, but they're going after market share versus profitability, which I think investors are becoming more in tune with. And then you got Howard Marks and Bridgewater loading up. I mean, if you have any level of larger institutional investors that already own 84% of the company, so there's not 4 billion shares outstanding because a lot of that 3.2 billion of those 4 billion shares are already taken up, I think you could get a lot more momentum. And the shorts are underwater. I mean, the shorts were really shorting this at $5. They are now down a couple billion on the short. So if the shorts cover over the coming weeks, that could also be very exciting for Grab. I don't think it's enough to be a short squeeze, but it could definitely be enough to help the price. So we got to see. But I think Grab will continue to take market share. And if they can give us an adjusted EBITDA guide raise of about 520 million, right now they're guiding for 480 million. They're going to be growing at 65% EBITDA. You give it a 40 EV to EV sales, which is how I get my multiple. It's significantly cheaper than DoorDash and Uber. And then you have 8 billion in cash divided by 4 billion shares, you get to $10, which is my price target by 2027. So I think this party continues with this one. We just have to see how it ends up playing out towards the end of the year. You got Meta right here, 780. That's green. Amazon at 230. Hoodie, which will get into the S&P 500 today. We'll see. Maybe we get some funds buying. as soon as the market opens in 4 minutes. That one's at 124, and then Palantir right here at $181. Deanna, thank you for the $50 super chat. Congrats on 100K. Amit, thank you so much for providing such amazing content every day. You make waking up at 5:45 Pacific fun and easy. You're the best. Deanna, I appreciate it. That's what Eddie and Brittany were saying. They're from LA as well, and their routine. They don't check their phone in the morning. They don't get on the computer. The one thing they do when they wake up in the morning is turn on the stream and get into their routine without checking all their other devices. So I deeply appreciate it. They have a very strict, hey, no phone policy when we wake up. We kind of gotta, get through our routine. But the one thing they do have open is the live stream. So deeply, deeply appreciate everyone from the West Coast and everyone across the entire world that tunes into the stream at the most odd timings. But I'm happy your 5:45s are fun every single morning. And then Blackbird, thank you for the $100 super chat. Congrats on hitting 100K subscribers, Amit. I really appreciate the effort, detail, and clarity you bring to bringing complex financial data. Thanks for helping viewers like me understand the markets better. Please keep up the great work. Blackbird, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And it's not just me. It's people like Chris Patel right here in the chat who help break down a lot of this complicated financial stuff to make it easier for even myself to understand. And so I really do think it's been an entire community effort to try to make the markets as easy as possible for all of us to better understand. So there you go. Muckaby says, make your own breakfast, kids, or watching Amit. Dude, I don't know when I get that play button. I think YouTube, I don't know if I have to apply for it, if YouTube just randomly sends it out. But yeah, hopefully in a couple months we can get it, and then we will put it in the background. But Deanna, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Blackbird, appreciate you being here. And thank you everybody for being here every single day. All right, so we got 2 minutes. Let's see what we get. 61% of you say we go green for the last week of September. Let me ask another question real quick. Do we go green today? Green or red day? What do we think? Green or red day? I know we made a lot of jokes about, wake me up when September ends and I can see a green day. But, I think being awake throughout September would have been better than being asleep. And it's been quite exciting to see some of this momentum. Microsoft was up yesterday, or not yesterday, in the overnight markets because they increased their prices on Xbox. So the subscription on Xbox increased, which is why Microsoft was green as well. Again, Dan Ives will be on at 10:45. So in about an hour, he'll be on, a little bit less than an hour, or a little bit more than an hour, 15 minutes. And we will get his thoughts on technology, what's going on in the world, orbs, all that stuff. And we will keep going from there. All right, folks, let's see. It's been a pretty strong month. This historically is the worst week of the month since 1990. We've on average been down about 1% in the last week of September. We're going to see in the next 20 seconds if we begin red or green to end out that last week. And again, deeply, deeply grateful that everyone continues to join every single day. So thank you all for being here. Monday, September 22nd, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Hoodie opens down 1.2%, 123.24. Hoodie is down. Again, they will get into the S&P 500 today, but that one is down on the day. Tesla goes green. Elon and Trump potentially making up. Market likes it. That's up 1.65%. Not too bad for Tesla. 433. You got the S&P. That goes down about 0.21%. Green candle, so it is up a little bit from where it was in the pre-markets. But that one is slightly red. Google right here, 254. Grab 624. SoFi goes red. We'll see if we get an intraday reversal back to 30. I think it's very likely today, but if not, probably happens at some time this week. 29.40 right here on SoFi. Robinhood right there, 123.54. Palantir at 181. Reddit at 257. Amazon 229. You got SoFi again, 29.34. S&P 662. AMD at 158. Where is Iran? Let's see how that one opens up. 40. Okay, so it was at 43 in the pre-markets. Now it's at 40. That one, you can see that big red candle right there from 43 to 40. Still up 5% on the day, but you do have some people that are taking profits. Uber, are we at 100? Wow, Uber, all-time highs. Uber, all-time highs. Congratulations to those in Uber. There you go, baby. All-time highs on that stock. Market cap, $210 billion. Uber not doing too bad right there, 100.80. Not sure why that one's moving. Could be just in general. Momentum is there and it's strong. It did almost touch 100. A couple days ago, it was at 99.70. 100.85, that is green for Uber. ASTS, how's that one doing? 46.40, that's up 3%, not too bad. Rocket Lab, that's at 47.38, slightly down. Oscar, that recovered from some of the dilution last week, 18.84, that is down about 2.3%. So that is red. Hoodie, 123.27, still down about 1.4%. NVIDIA, 175. AMD, again, Iran did buy 1,000 MI350 chips from AMD, so that one's up about 1.3%. And then you got the Googs at 254. Baidu, that one exploded last week, continues to go green. Shout out to Dougie in the chat. He's been buying Baidu, up 4.5%. That one's up. D Local, I know Tanner's into this stock, up another 1.63%, 15.24. That is green. Hims is getting some love right there, 57.98. That's slightly up. Next Decade, we know our boy Matt Money's been buying a ton of this. That one's up about 2%. Insiders have also been buying the crap out of this stock in the open market, so that one is green. Uber continuing to hold 100. CoreWeave, that's down 3%. Coinbase, that's down 3%. Rocket Lab, that's down 2%. Dell, that's slightly up. Archer is down 3%. GameStop slightly up. How about Joby? That was up 14% last week. Joby down 5%. All right, so Joby giving back some of those gains that it got on Friday. And that one is down. D-Wave, how's that one doing in the quantum space? Oh my, wow. 13% decline on D-Wave. Now, again, this thing broke out like 40% up last week, so giving back some of the gains is probably healthy and normal. But that one is down. What about Rigetti? That one is down 9%. Did something happen with quantum? IONQ down 5%. If there's no news, then it's probably just giving back a little bit of the gains because all three of these stocks absolutely exploded last week, which is probably normal. But you do have quantum getting a little bit of a hit in the pre-markets. AppLovin right here, 647, slightly down, and then Circle, 135, that's down. Where is BMNR? That is at 56.23. All right, you got a nice 8% decline on BitMine. I would say it's probably healthy. Ethereum right there at 41.92. You do want that multiple likely compressing a bit, probably creates a great buying opportunity for some people, potentially. Ethereum's got to stay stable. If Ethereum tanks below 4,000, then BitMine's probably going below 50. But 56.39, that is down about 8% on the day. Big Bear down 5%. This one makes sense. I mean, the only reason it was up, it was because the politician bought in. So if that hype is fading out a little bit, then that one likely ready to go down. And then SoFi right here, 29.17. All right, so it looks like 30 is not on the way yet for SoFi. Kind of has to get through some of this initial market sell-off within the first 5 minutes, and then maybe then we can move forward. BKKT, so Mike Alfred, who's on the board of Iran, joined the board of Bach today. This is a crypto exchange, if I'm not wrong. They engage in the intersection of crypto assets, loyalty, and rewards and payments, different payment offering platform for crypto. I don't know if his addition to the board is the only reason it's up 26%. There might have been another reason, but that stock in the crypto space is indeed green. Robinhood right there, 122.98. Open Door, how's that one doing? Wow, down 8%. Okay, so Open Door peaked at 1087 last week. Now it's at 877. That one down another 8%. Okay, so you got some of the speculative part of the market going down. Open Door going down. Quantum going down. And then the next one, Oklo, if that one's down, then today will tell me we're taking some risk off the table. Oklo is down 7%. Yep, we are taking some risk on the table or off the table. And I think that's kind of healthy. I'm sorry. I really do think that's kind of healthy. Can't say I'm that upset about that. Don't want anyone to lose money, but you do also want the market to be a little bit more rational. And it's not horrible to see that you're getting a little bit of a sell-off on some of those names. AMD right there at 159. I don't know exactly when Hood gets added to the S&P. I mean, I think it happens throughout the day. If I'm wrong, then it happens after hours. I'll see if I can get some info. But I think throughout the entire day, funds are adding the stock as they need to into the S&P 500 to be part of their official holdings to say they're compliant with the S&P. So it might happen throughout the day. It might happen a bit after hours, but I think we'll see some momentum to the downside or the upside as, you know, for every buyer, there's a seller throughout the day. Tesla right here, 437. That one's getting green, 2.7. 2.7. Wow, is Apple at 250? Really? Oh my, shout out to the Apple. Look at that. Look at that 250. I love to see it. At the end of the day, you need Apple to participate in a bull run. And we are seeing some of that momentum in the bull run. Wow, even Grab going not green yet, but it was at 626 in the pre-market, 635, very close to going green. Apple, Tesla, and Grab, all three of them having a great day. Tesla right there, 438. And then Apple, we do have Apple in our ETF in the stock draft that'll update in about 15 minutes, and then I'll show the updated rankings there. But Apple right there, 250. We added this at 198. So this one not doing too bad from the initial ad. Apple right there, 250. Nebius, are we still below 100? Nebius still above 100, 101.22. We also have that in the ETF. So Nebius doing great. AMD above 159, and then Uber again holding 100, 100.19 on the day. Broadcom, is that dumping? Broadcom's green. One of the only semis that are green, along with AMD. NVIDIA still red, and then Tesla trying to move to the 440. Dude, if Tesla can break 450, 439, I think the market would be very excited if it actually could break 450. Let me check resistance for Tesla at 440 and see if that's green. The news on Snapchat is they introduced a new OS for AR, VR, and that's why Snapchat is green. Snapchat was stuck at around 7 for the past couple of weeks, and now it is breaking out. Again, I don't think Snap's a major player when it comes to glasses, but that news in and of itself is likely why the stock's getting some momentum. 440 resistance on Tesla is 81,000 shares. 81,000 shares. Wow, Grab volume already 6 million. Dude, I can't explain it. I cannot explain why it's getting this momentum. I was on the phone with Triple V on Friday. You guys know he has about 4.5 million shares. And I was like, hey, why do you think people are buying it up? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, this is not normal for a stock to get 100 million in volume out of nowhere for 5 days in a row. Like, that's just not normal. That doesn't tend to happen. And, you do have some more people getting excited about it, but still, it leads me to think there might be something bigger going on that we just don't know about. Grab right there, about 6 million shares in the last 8 minutes. Tesla, 438.73. Robinhood trying to get back to 124. AppLovin, 648. DoorDash, 264. Nubank, that's been crushing it at 1620. Not too bad. GameStop, are we headed to $28 today? GameStop right there, 26.42. That's up about 1.3%. Not too bad. Navitas, how is that one doing? That one is down 4%. So you got a lot of the semiconductor names besides AMD and Broadcom that are taking a bit of a hit. What about Oracle? Oracle is slightly up. That's about 1.1%. Again, the reason Apple's selling is because they got a ton of upgrades across the street on iPhones. Just like Barclays, Oppenheimer, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all of them have upgraded around the 275 to 280 range based on the idea that iPhone 17 pre-orders are signaling that there is likely going to be a ton of momentum for this upgrade cycle. And that should be really strong. Now, one thing that Jeffrey said is, hey, we think iPhone 17 is strong in China, but we think it's weak in the United States. So we do think that the average selling price for Apple is a bit too aggressive in the United States, and that could lead to a little bit of pain in US orders. But in China, we think it's very strong. And China has a lot of people. So if you get a massive upgrade cycle in China, that could still be super, super bullish for Apple. Could Grab be because the company is repurchasing their own shares? I really doubt that. Grab is not first of all, Grab already bought $500 million worth of their stock over the past year. So I doubt they raised $1.5 billion to buy back their stock. I think if there is a massive move on Grab happening, it's because someone knows they're about to use their cash for something big, and it's not to buy their stock. I mean, that's like not a reason the street would get excited. But if they're going to buy a major competitor, or they're going to really expand into another country or something like that, I think buying the competitor would be the most likely option. That would be why the street gets excited. It just happened all of a sudden. Like it just came all at once. And it's kind of just like, okay, so what's exactly going on? Because that doesn't easily happen on any stock. Forget Grab, like any stock getting 100 million shares of volume a day after their average volume is 30 million shares off, really no news that is available to the public. It's hard to kind of just see that playing out like it did, but I think that should be rather bullish for the company. MicroStrategy right there, that's down about 3.5%. MicroStrategy down 3%. Microsoft down about 0.5%. And AppLovin still at 647. It's called a technical breakout. I mean, maybe it is technicals. Maybe I'm speculating too much. I know we've been talking about the inverse head and shoulders on this bad boy for like 3 months, so it could just be technicals. Maybe that's as simple as it is. But maybe there's something more than just the technicals as well. Tempest, I believe, put out a press release today. This stock is up 8%. Let me see if I can find exactly what they said, but this is a big win for Kathy and for Nancy. They've both done pretty great on this trade. Tempus AI received 510K clearance from the FDA for its RNA-based Tempus XR-IVD device. XR-IVD will be offered as a life sciences tool to support drug development programs. All right, so FDA approval based on one of their mechanisms to research and support drug development programs. That is why Tempus is up 7% right here. So there you go. T-Mobile, new CEO. That is correct. That stock is flat. Nothing too crazy right there on T-Mobile, but they do have a new CEO that is coming in. SoFi, 29.06, not really showing the best strength to get to 30. Tesla still holding on at 437, but also that one getting faded a little bit. It did hit 439.80 just a couple minutes ago. S&P very close to going green. We are $1 away. Let's see if we can get there. But it is not that far away. It would be quite exciting again for September to end out going green. Cuddle, thank you for the 5 super chat. My 3-year-old boy would wake up from his nap each day and ask if we were green. He knew we were making dollar bucks when he'd hear your bell. That is hilarious. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for being part of the channel. And it's always so fun when I hear that, you know, your kids are listening into the show and they know about the bell. It's like, it's just the coolest thing in the world. So super, super cool stuff. S&P right there, 660, 250. Google, 253. SoFi, 29.28. Where is Meta doing on a day like this? Again, we heard Zuck say he's ready to spend hundreds of billions. And if he loses those hundreds of billions, it is what it is, because he'd rather be competing than not competing, which to me was quite bullish from an AI perspective to hear someone say that. 783 on Meta. They didn't have the best event last week in regards to the glasses, but overall the stock has been able to kind of withstand some of the event failures. Meta right there up about 1%. BMNR 57.70. That's still only down 6% on the day, even with ETH tanking, holding, I would say, still about a 1.3 to 1.4x premium right here. And Bitmine right there at 57. Ethereum right here, 41.87. Where's SMCI? That stock is up about 0.5%. AMD back to 160. Not too bad. There you go. Up 2% on the day for AMD. RR is pumping. Rich Tech Robotics, that's up about 4%. Again, a lot of people are getting excited about this one as NVIDIA announced some collaboration. Tesla trying to make a run back to 440. And then AMD at 160. Amit, would you trim some Tesla at these levels to add a BMNR position? It's a good question. I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because Tesla feels like SoFi in regards to Tesla feels like it's in a breakout. Same thing with SoFi. And both stocks have been so depressed for so long that now it feels a little bit more like blue skies. Or you think Tesla's pure hype and this is going to tank back to 350 and, you know, it makes sense to sell right now to establish a position, something like BMNR. I don't know. I don't know if I would personally sell Tesla for BMNR. We do know our boy Steve let his covered calls get called away on Tesla on Friday, and he will be adding more BMNR and Ethereum with that money. So Steve is making the Tesla for ETH swap. But I do think Q3 is going to be phenomenal for Tesla because of the EV tax credit going away. So the demand is going to be crazy. Question is it just like one quarter? Because then Q4 is not the best. I'm not sure. But I would probably hold on to Tesla as it feels a bit more like it's breaking out. SoFi has earnings to support it. Tesla does not. That's fair. It's just maybe Tesla puts up some decent earnings in Q3. I know it's not going to be the best earnings. Obviously, Elon said don't expect good earnings until 2026. But if there's anything that's decent, given there's so much bad news around the name constantly, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Tesla right there, 438, trying to go back for the 440s. Where's some of the data center plays? VRT, Vertiv, that one's down a bit. VST, that one's down a bit. Iran, is that still holding 40? Iran 39.97, trying to hold 40. That one is slightly down. Amit, I got one leg on my SoFi spreads assigned on Friday, 4 days before the year, and 1 day making it long-term capital gains. Dude, that happened to me last time when I had my Robinhood spreads back in, what was this? This is like February? No, this was December of 2024. I remember. I was on the phone with Chris and Steve at the same time. It was the first time I got exercised. And like some random person across the world made me deliver some shares. So it is what it is. It happens. Sometimes you got to just give it to them as you're responsible for it. But at least you have the other 49 left. I think if you had 50, Doug. So you'll be able to wait till long-term gains of that. Okay, a lot of you guys saying Model Q in Q4. Did Elon tweet about Model Q? Because I don't see any of his tweets, him mentioning the Model Q. Maybe it's in the replies and not the tweets themselves. He has been tweeting a lot more about Tesla, which is bullish. Also, the November 6th shareholder meeting is going to be very important. We did get Piper Sandler raise their price target to 500 from 400. They said, after meeting with Chinese EV makers, we can see why Elon Musk respects these fast followers so much. Indeed, vertically integrated Chinese OEMs may be Tesla's #1 competitive threat. But when it comes to real world AI, these companies look to Tesla for guidance, not the other way around. In other words, of one company, without Tesla going from 0 to 1, we can't go from 1 to 100. Bottom line, Tesla remains our top idea for investing in autonomous vehicles and robotics. And that's why Piper Sandler raised them from 400 to 500. There you go. That's why Tesla's getting some love. BMNR, is that one moving again? BMNR right here, 58.60. Wow. Dude, if this one recovers back to 60 and Ethereum stays flat, you gotta give them a lot of credit, because that just means that even with the dilution, even with the MNAV, theoretically, that should be compressing as Ethereum goes down because the net asset value goes down. If it is even able to stay around that 58 to 60 range, this means this stock is just becoming, I don't know, call it a cult, call it something that's just a part of a lot of people's portfolios, call it an institutional long that is not being sold off, whatever you want to call it. It is becoming something that cannot be denied if it's actually able to hold these prices. Because MicroStrategy, has not been, in the early days, MicroStrategy was able to do that, but now it's fragile. It's as Bitcoin goes down, MicroStrategy reacts pretty aggressively towards it. The fact that BitMine's not doing that is very impressive to me. Very, very impressive. Wow, Tesla 440. There she goes. 440 just broke through 81,000 shares that were sitting at 440. 440.41. Not even 440. It almost broke out to 441. Let me check resistance at 441 on Tessie. 10,000 shares. 10,000 shares, which isn't too bad. It looks like Tesla's going to get right back to that, or at least it wants to get back to that. Let me check the heat map real quick across the market. Pretty much red across the board except Apple and Tesla. Pretty much red across the board. Google and Meta are slightly up. Uber's up. AMD's up. Lam Research is up. Everything else in the semiconductors names are down. Broadcom and AMD are up a little bit. And then Apple and Tesla are the green names that we have today. Everything else is red. 439 on the Tessie. I do have Tesla in my ETF, so we're going to see in a minute when I update that ETF what it looks like. But Tesla, Hood, and Palantir, one of the reasons I picked those three is because if we do have a bull market, I think those three can do very well. Duolingo's green as well. Oh, my. Oh, that's going to be good for the ETF today. That's going to be good for the ETF today. Duolingo back at 302. Where's UNH? UNH is down about 1% on the day. Wow, BitMine 59. My goodness, this stock has momentum and strength. Dude, it is not normal for ETH to be down 3%. For the past week, for the past week it's down more like 7%, but over the weekend it was down 3%. And BitMine's holding in the almost $60 range. That is not easy. You would think BitMine would be down back to like the 52s. Like, nope. If the NAV is 43, BitMine even at 50 is trading at a pretty significant premium. And the fact that it's holding just means there is so much demand for this name. Wow, AppLovin goes green, 654. So you got AppLovin getting some momentum. Tesla right back to 440. Now let's see if it can break 440.41. That would be closing in on that intraday high. And then Hoodie trying to get back to 124. SoFi, are we moving on SoFi? Where is SoFi? 29.65. All right. Looks like the 20-minute market open selling might be done, and SoFi has a chance to break up to 30. TSM as well, 266.74. That one is green by about 1%. All right, let's take a look at the stock draft. What do we got? Folks, we are officially in first place. Map Money is at 26.3. Amit is at 28.5. We're up 30% on Palantir, 60% on Hood, 35% on Tesla, 27% on AMD, 17% on JP Morgan, 97% on Nebius. That's all you guys. So thank you to the chat for Nebius. 35% on Grab, and then 26% on Apple. Steve is up 7. Tanner's up 19.9. Trade Desk is the one that's hurting him the most right now. Chris in double digits. He's up 10%. Novo is the one that's hurting him the most, down 20. Duolingo is obviously hurting me the most, and Dutch Bros is hurting Matt the most. Matt right there at 26.32% in total. All right, so we got the first. Now we got to see if we can keep it. Tesla right there, 439, trying to get back to 440, and then NVIDIA, 175. ONDS just hit 52-week highs. I know a lot of you guys like this one. Ondas, drone platform company. There you go, breaking 7. That's up 4.39%. PayPal, is PayPal going green? PayPal's 10 cents away from going green. Maybe that one goes green. Appcelera's moving today, 3%. Not too bad. And then SoFi is pushing. Let me check resistance at 30 for SoFi. Tesla back to 440. SoFi, ASML as well, having a pretty strong morning. 30 is 98,000 shares. 98,000 shares, which is not a lot for SoFi. ASML right there at 957. That's up 2.4. And then Tessie at 440. Oklo's almost going green. Maybe we're getting a reversal across the market. Oklo's 1.3% away from going green. How about D-Wave? It was down 10. Now it's down 5. I mean, what about, what was the other one? Big Bear. That was down 7. Big Bear's now down 3. I mean, if we get a reversal across the board, it looks like some of the more speculative names are also going to reverse with it. Apple right there trying to push 251, which would just continue to signal it's a pretty aggressive bull market. Discrelli closes open door short. I don't know. I don't think he did. I don't even think he was short a lot of open door. I mean, I think he was short like a couple thousand shares. Oh, he said, I covered open at 890. Okay, there you go. Officially, he covered at 890. So he made some money on the short from what, 930 to 890 he shorted. So I don't know if he made a ton of money. Open door right here. That stock is 916. So even that one recovering. That one was at what, 870 today? So you're seeing a reversal and a recovery, not a full recovery, but a decent recovery on a lot of names, whether it's an Open Door, an Oklo, a Rigetti, or even some of the bigger names like a SoFi and a Tesla that were red when the market opened and now are going green. Amit, if September can't hold this market down, we are rocking for the rest of the year. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. But as soon as we start thinking that's when we get hit upside the head with a pullback. So I agree. If September is not taking the market down and August couldn't take the market down, I mean, maybe October finally, gives us a little bit of a pullback. But who's not buying that dip? If October really messes with us, who's not taking a chance on some of these names, especially if the earnings continue to be strong? Tesla, 441, baby. 441. There she goes. I'll check 442 resistance, but that one is not stopping. Zeta, that one, 2196. That one also going green. When are the other two rate cuts? The other two rate cuts will be on October 29th and December 10th. There is a 90% chance for the October rate cut, and for December, there is an 80% chance for the rate cut. So October 29th and December 10th, we likely will see 2 more 25 bips cuts. Did the NASDAQ just go green? The NASDAQ just went green, baby. Nothing stops this market. Nothing stops this market. Now that I said that, something will stop this market. But as of now, this market's holding on, bro. This market is holding on. Pretty incredible. Pretty freaking incredible, dude. S&P about to go green as well. Yes, S&P about to go green as well. SPX is very close to green. S&P is 27 cents away. I mean, we might really see if we get some momentum. Let me check fear and greed and see how that one's doing and keep going from there. Fear and greed, as you can see, the NASDAQ right there officially going green. It's up 20 points on the day, but it recovers from being red. Fear and greed is at, dude, it doesn't feel like 60, right? It feels like we're at extreme greed. Like, doesn't it feel like this should be like 90? If this is only 60, what is 90 going to look like? Is that S&P 7,000? Like, are we finally going to get extreme greed when we're at like S&P 68, 6,900? Because if we are, then we've got some more room to grow. we've got some more room to go. Thoughts on Amazon lagging? I actually like that Amazon is lagging because I think it's setting it up for a pretty big breakout. I'm doing a little bit more work on Amazon, trying to understand why exactly it's lagging. There's two reasons I can point to. Number one is tariffs actually do have an impact on Amazon because they're like selling physical goods, and that could be creating somewhat of an impact. And number two is this, like, it's just a dumb reason, but it's this whole idea that AWS is not growing as fast as GCP and Azure, but AWS has been around for longer. I mean, they are the market leader here, so it doesn't need to grow as fast, in my opinion, but the market wants more momentum from cloud. So I think if they can resolve their operating margins, which did go down for the first time in 5 quarters, it was by a slight amount, but still, that was not the best to see, and reaccelerate AWS growth, S&P very close to going green, I think that helps Amazon break out. Grab, trying to get to 640, Grab officially goes green, but I think it makes sense that Amazon's been lagging. I do think it probably is a better buy the dip opportunity out of all the Max 7, given it's barely up like 5% year to date. So we got to see. Yep, Uber's at 100. SoFi still didn't get to 30 yet. We're trying to see if we can get there. Tesla holding 440, Palantir 180. I think Hood has a date with 125. I know it wants to get there. It's getting held back by about 1%, 123.50, but let's see if we can get back above there. Grab officially going green. There you go, 641 on Grabby Grab. That one goes green. Austin says there's also tariff fears. Yes, I agree. That could also definitely be a reason for why that's happening. SoFi, 2970. Again, 98,000 shares are waiting at 30. Applied Digital. That goes green. What's still red? What's red? Walmart, is that red? Nope, that's green. Let's update the heat map and see if things have changed a bit. Well, we still have a decent amount of green in utilities. Walmart is I picked the only consumer defensive that's green. Costco's red, Coke's red, Pepsi's red. So you still have a decent amount of red across the board, but it's definitely more green than the first heat map we looked at in the morning. Apple and Tesla kind of leading the way as those two continue to go green. Target, that one's red. Target is red. That's down by about 1%. Novo, that one goes red. I think they had some news last week. That's down about 1.94%. And then Oscar, seems like all of the healthcare plays getting a little bit of red. United Health going green. It was red by about 2%, that one. Recovering a little bit. BMNR, are we still holding 59? Very close, 58.80. Dude, that is so bullish. I mean, it just means there's so many people ready to buy. Volume is already 18 million shares in 30 minutes on BitMine. Over 1 million shares a minute. I mean, that's incredible. That is incredible. Again, guys, I have not done a lot of work on Rich Tech Robotics. It's up 10% right here. I really have not looked into this. It's a small cap, under $1 billion. I know NVIDIA announced some stuff with them, but this one I'm going to have to do a little bit more work on to be able to speak on it. But if you're in it, congrats, especially if you got in around $1 or $2. I think that's when NVIDIA kind of announced a little bit of a partnership with them. And that's why that stock is getting some momentum. S&P right there, 663. SoFi, all right, here we go. Here's the home stretch. We didn't ring the bell yesterday overnight for SoFi because overnight markets don't count when we get these price milestones because, it tends to be very low liquidity. So I've got the bell ready. SoFi's got to give me 6 more cents and we will get to 30. And we will get to 30. SoFi right there, 29.92. Someone says, why do people ignore SBET so much? I think it's SBET's down 4%. Dude, I mean, I think it's because SBET has not been able to show they can raise capital at the level of BitMine. And as a result, they haven't gotten a good premium. So, wow, Hoodie, 124.44. All right, Hoodie, trying to get to 125. SoFi, 2 cents away. There it is. There it is. 30 Dolores on SoFi. It has been a long journey for SoFi, for those that are in it, and especially for those that have stayed in it from $7 to $10 and have DCA'd diligently. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. SoFi is now a $30 stock. There you go. Maybe this is the beginning of a Robinhood Palantir type of move. Who knows? Maybe it kind of chills out here, but Rate cuts are bullish. You got Noto that's executing. Companies growing at 40%. And it looks like this stock does want to go higher. $29.90, just under 30. Officially, SoFi has hit an all-time high of $30.01 on the day. Congratulations, everybody. Wow, Tesla breaking 442 at the same time. Dude, talk about the first 10 minutes being a head fake. I mean, maybe the 10:30 slam brings everything down, but the first 10 minutes of this market were literally a head fake. Grab right there, 642, Tesla 442. Let me check first SoFi 31 resistance, and then we'll do Tesla 443. SoFi 31, 73,000 shares. 73,000 shares. And then Tesla 443, which it's very close to touching. 9,000 shares. 9,000 shares for 443. Doesn't seem like it's too crazy to see that getting there. AMD as well, pushing to 161. S&P still 30 cents away from going green. Grabby grab 644. Trying to get back to breaking 650, which would be incredible. Google right there, 253. And then Hoodie, she wants 125, 124. 19 is what you've got right now. Oh, by the way, Trump's going to be doing an Oval Office address about autism today. And Politico is reporting that the White House will be announcing that women who are pregnant should stop taking Tylenol, as the studies they've done, led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., have led to the conclusion that Tylenol, if you're pregnant, causes or has a better chance of causing autism. So Trump said it's going to be one of the most important announcements he's ever made from the Oval Office. I don't know when that's happening. It might be happening towards the end of the day. I will try to stream it if we can catch it live, but yeah, that will be happening later today. Wow, 443. 443, baby. Oh, she wants 445, and then she wants 450 after that. And then she wants 450. 444 resistance on Tesla is nothing. It is 13,000 shares. I mean, dude, Tesla volume is already 26 million. These thousands of shares are not enough to stop Tesla from really making a move. So these are very easy targets for Tesla to take out. That's up 4% on the day, $17. How many shares does Tesla have outstanding? Let's do some quick maths. Tesla has 3.3 billion shares outstanding. 3.3 times 17. Tesla is up 56 billion in market cap today. 56 billion in market cap. And Elon had to spend $1 billion to get people excited. And Tesla since then has increased by about 150 billion. So nice little ROI for Elon. Robin right there, 123.96 pounds here, holding on to 180. Let's do a vibe check right here in the chat on Tesla. 54% of you say today will be a green day. The 54% that voted green so far is looking okay. Let's do this. Tesla end of year. We're going to do 4 options. We're going to do 600 for the most bullish. Then we'll do 500 for pretty bullish. Then we'll do 450 for basically the current prices. And then we'll do under 400. What do we think? What do we think based on these 4 choices? How it's going out. PayPal, is that one still red? PayPal is still red, 67.50. It's down about 1%. Tylenol will pay a fee to Trump to avoid this. It is pretty bad marketing for Tylenol if, like, Trump says their drug causes autism in pregnant women. But Trump's pretty serious about this announcement. I mean, he made a big deal out of it yesterday at the memorial speech. So it seems like they're going to go strong with talking about this. I've said on this channel many times that, I've gotten high off Tylenol before. No one wants to believe me, but I took 1,000 milligrams one night back in 2020. I was floating. I literally was floating. No one wants to believe me when I say this, but I remember what I experienced. But nonetheless, we're going to see what this announcement comes out to be. There's no way I'm saying Tylenol wrong, bro. There's no way. There's no way. How to say, last night you said I said strength wrong, Tylenol. Like, I'm saying it right. There's no way I'm saying this shit wrong. There's no way. I refuse to believe I am saying this wrong. It's Tylenol.
Tylenol.
That's pretty good, bro. Tylenol.
Tylenol.
Okay, there's a little bit of an accent on the double A's in the way they pronounce it, but still, that's not That's not that bad. That's literally not that bad, bro. It's maybe the worst word you've messed up. Am I the only one that, wow, 444 on Tesla. There she goes. 444 on Tesla. I guess Tesla took some Tylenol because it's getting high, baby. 444 on Tesla. Let's check 445 resistance. I don't think I say it wrong, dude. I think you guys are, I think all of your ears are messed up. 445 is 43,000 shares. 43,000 shares, which again is not too crazy. Robinhood back to 124. Tylenol.
Tylenol.
Oh, okay. So she does the tie and I do the ta. That's not that big of a deal, bro. That's a very minuscule difference. I wouldn't say that's that aggressive. So it is what it is. But I just got a screenshot. By our boy. What do you guys think? You guys know who I'm talking about. You are saying it worse and worse every time. Goodness gracious. KVUE is the ticker for Tylenol parent company. KVUE. Kenvue. $32 billion company. Oh, wow. They own Listerine, Neutrogena, Band-Aid. Am I saying Band-Aid wrong? Am I like grammar police? Am I spelling police? Am I saying that one wrong too? Johnson's and then Tylenol or Tylenol, whatever. Okay, so that stock right here down 5%. So that makes sense given what Trump is potentially going to say about them today. All right, Triple V screenshot. What do you guys think? What stock? It's 1 million shares. What stock? He bought 1 million shares. I'll let you guys guess what stock. What do you think? Put in the chat. What do you think? 1 million shares executed. I think he bought this how many minutes ago? He bought this at 9:39. This was when we were seeing a little bit more pain in the markets. It's 1 million shares. You guys saying BMNR like he spent $57 million, bro. Come on. That's it. Like he could do that, but that's a bit aggressive. It's a bit aggressive. SoFi is 30 million. That's still aggressive as well. Amazon, 230 million. Okay, I think he could spend 230 million, but I don't know if he would want to spend that much. It is indeed grabby grab. Grabby grab at 639. Or no, 636. What is the price he paid? 636. $6.36. 6.3 million dollars, 1 million shares. So now Triple V has 5.5 million shares of this bad boy. So he's in it. He's in it aggressively, but he's in it. SoFi, is that one pumping? Are we back above 30? SoFi, there you go. Making a real move above 30. There she goes. $30.10. $30 on SoFi. Guys, do we buy SoFi into strength? Who's buying SoFi into strength? Who thinks she's ready to go to 40? I mean, because this is the mistake a lot of people made on Robinhood and Palantir. I made the mistake on Palantir. I made sure I did not make that mistake on Robinhood. But the mistake is generational company not buying into strength ends up leading to not really getting the full extent of what this could become. Now, if SoFi goes to 100, that's a 3x from here, which would give it a $100 billion market cap. If SoFi gets to 100, it's already at a $35 billion market cap. That would be one of the most valuable banks in the country, right? I mean, already it's one of the most valuable banks, but that would put it up there into one of the most valuable banks. The question is, can it actually get there? Dude, I'm not saying strength wrong. What is going on? Like it's strength. I cannot believe you guys are saying I'm saying strength wrong. It's strength.
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 She's saying it wrong, bro. She's doing strength. It's not strength. It's strength.
Strength.
No, I don't believe this shit, bro. I don't believe this shit. I refuse to believe it, dude. I believe in individual autonomy. Like I choose to say words the way they're supposed to be said, not in this propagandist way of language. You guys can complain all you want. It's not like that's not how you say it. It's just not how you say it. That's not. I'm sorry. Like my kids are gonna grow up saying it the right way. You guys can choose to raise your kids however you want, but that's just not how you say it. Yeah, the G shouldn't even be there, bro. Like that G does not look like it should. So obviously the G is silent. Like, why do we trust this guy? This is ridiculous, bro. Strength, Tylenol, these words are just ridiculous. Absella right here getting some momentum up 5.73%. BMNR as well, holding on to, well, it's 57.80, still above 55, which is nice, but that one is down about 5%. Grab right there, 643. Google, 253. SoFi just under $30. There you go. English is hard. Yes, that is why Duolingo needs. Wow, Duolingo 6%. All right, let's update the stock draft. Yeah, well, Duolingo helping me out. We're up almost 30%. Matt's at 27, Tanner's at 20, Steve's at 7, Chris is at 10.4. We're at 29.5. If Duolingo even kind of recovers, it's going to really help the portfolio. But as of now, Duolingo is still the stock that it's down the most on. But Duolingo right there up about 5.5%. ASTS, that one's running a little bit. 47.05, that's up 4.3. Do you say strong or strong? Okay, the G in strong is obvious. The G in strength is not obvious. Like
strength,
she's going out of her way to say the G. It's strength. Like the G is not, like it doesn't need to be there. So I'm sticking with the way that I understand the English language. Eric Jackson has a new stock, Better. Is that his new name? Did he officially announce a new name that he's promoting? Better, B-E-T. Oh, hold on. There you go. Eric Jackson. This is the person who led the Open Door rally. Better is the Shopify of mortgages. It's rebuilding a $15 trillion industry from scratch with AI. I believe Better is a 350 bagger in 2 years. They laughed at Better now at 34, like they laughed at Carvana at 350 and Open at 51 cents, but this is no mean. Eric Jackson is long Better. BETR is the ticker. 350 bagger in 2 years. That's okay. So that would mean market cap of 558 million. He's talking about what, a 35, closer to a 40 billion market cap in 2 years on Better. I know nothing about this company, by the way. I think I've heard of this company once or twice, but market cap, it's a small cap, obviously under $1 billion. Stock year to date. Again, I've done no DD on this company, so I have no idea what this does. Better up 300% year to date. So he's saying from even this price, after going up 300%, there's a 350x waiting in the next couple of years. And it looks like this is the name. I haven't gone through this thread. I haven't read through anything, but it looks like this is the name he's going for after Open Door. It is up 9% on the day. And it's halted. Correct. It is halted right now. Okay. I will look into it. I will definitely take a look and see what there is there. But that is the new name from Eric Jackson. Tesla right there, 442.90. That's up 4%. S&P relatively flat. And then SoFi, 29.92. Let me pull this up right here. Okay, let me just pull this one up right here. You got SoFi 29.97, Pouncer 179.81. I'm looking for one chart that I want to bring up real quick to show everybody. And then we'll keep going from there. Yes, it is halted. It is halted. Oh, yeah, you guys are right. Hold on. That would be a $200 billion market cap. The price would be around 12,000 a share. Obviously, they probably would do dilution, buybacks, all that stuff. Potentially that would change it. But that would be a $200 billion market cap just from that market cap of today's market cap from 557 million on a 350x. Okay, so he's calling for a $200 billion market cap on Better. I'll look into it. Yeah, about 193. Exactly, about 193 billion That's correct. Sachin says better looks more like a pump and dump. Liquidity is not great on the stock overall. The news has likely made the liquidity at times only, but it's a bad stock in terms of volume. Average volume on this name. Tesla is still trying to get back to 443. Average volume on this name is about 80,000 shares, guys. This is not a liquid name. Sachin's right. This is a very illiquid company. But he's calling for a $200 billion market cap. So I guess we can do some research to see if there's anything special there. S&P 663, AMD 161. That's going nicely. Grab 643, and then SoFi just under $30. Again, I don't know if there's massive news on Bakkt. All I know is Mike Alfred joined the board, and he's on IREN's board as well. I don't know if there's any other news, but that one's up 27% on the day, potentially based on that. SMCI, that's up 2% on the day. So all the semis getting a little bit of a push outside of NVIDIA. That's the one that's been relatively flat. And then the S&P literally 5 cents away from going green on the day, which would be exciting. Nabius 103, baby. Nabius 103. That is up 4%. That is up 4%. All right, let's see what else is going on in the markets. We looked at a lot of the price action. We don't have any crazy headlines. We'll see the Trump Oval Office address later, probably with RFK. Is there anything else? Oh, you have Stephen. Well, this was from, let me look at a little bit of this news right here around the Fed. Yeah, we got some Fed talk. All right, let's pull this up real quick, and then we'll keep going from there.
Hearing from the Fed President Musalem from St. Louis, and he's speaking at the Brookings Institution and actually making some interesting comments. I would say more hawkish comments. Obviously, he said he voted for the 25 basis point cut as a precautionary move to support the labor market, but also warned against going too far without easing at this juncture. So, not necessarily a lock on more rate cuts. The median.
Okay, so I think any level of analysis from these Fed presidents that are going to be speaking for the next month, because they don't have their quiet period until mid-October, about precautionary rate cuts, I think all of it's BS. I think we're getting 75 bips. I think any of them say, oh, we did a rate cut to be precautionary. It's like, no, dude, it is going to be very hard for this market to stay stable if we don't get the next 50 bips. I think all the Fed presidents know that. And I think they also know the labor market's probably not in the best situation, which is why they're going to continue to cut. So although one of the Fed presidents from the St. Louis Fed says that he voted based on a modestly restrictive and neutral policy stance, and it was a precautionary cut, I think it's hard to imagine that feeling or that sort of conception of why they cut rates would carry on into the end of the year. I think it's more reactive than precautionary on the idea of the labor market not being horrible. Tesla right there, 441. Duolingo is at 309. That's up 7% on the day. 1030 slam. We got 10 minutes. Maybe we'll see if there's any 1030 momentum. Snapchat right there. That's at 868. That's still up 6%. And then BMNR now is starting to show some weakness. BMNR is now starting to show a little bit of weakness. That's down about 7% on the day. Rich Tech Robotics, that is up 14% on the day. That's green. We don't have any new data today. We will have Dan Ives again on in about 20 minutes. He'll be on the show and we'll get to talk to him. But we get PCE on Friday and housing sales tomorrow. So no new data that we're going to get today. Grab right there at 643. SBET, how's that one doing? Still down 4%. BitMine already did an offering. Remember, we talked about it this morning. They offered shares at $70 along with warrants to different investors. So that is likely why the stock is down. I mean, realistically, given ETH is down, BMNR probably deserves to be down, close to 7 to 9% today. But if it can even hold these levels, I think that would be very, very exciting for BitMine. NAV is around 43. BitMine's at 56, still at a pretty good premium. So NAV, if it collapses back down to 52, I don't think anyone should be that surprised. But it is holding on pretty well. AppLovin, 652. Amit, are you buying any buy it now, pay later stocks? I am not. I thought Klarna would have a way better IPO than they did. Was quite frankly surprised that this one didn't really spike up And I learned a lot more about Klarna's business over the past couple of weeks. I watched a couple of videos, looked at some of their financials. The biggest takeaway is that most of the revenue comes from merchants, not consumers. So a lot of people think the risk is on consumers with delinquencies. That is a risk, but more so the risk lies with merchants, and that risk is a bit more mitigated than consumers. But the appetite for buy now, pay later is not that strong, at least not for Klarna. Affirm right there, 89.37. That's down about 3% on the day. U.S. official confident China has approved the TikTok deal. Senior White House officials on TikTok deal valuation will be many billions of dollars. All right, so we're getting some updates on TikTok and when that deal is going to happen. Oh, wow. U.S. government says, or U.S. official says U.S. government will not have any equity in the TikTok deal. They will have a board seat, if I'm not wrong, which will be very important because they will probably want to have a little bit of control over the direction of that company. But it doesn't look like they're taking an equity stake. Let's get some coverage on that right here.
Let's get over to Emily Wilkins for that. Emily.
Hey, David. Well, yes, the White House is releasing some new details about the TikTok deal this morning, including, of course, the role that Oracle is going to play. Oracle is going to be the security provider for TikTok, according to senior White House officials. And this is going to come in a larger structure where TikTok as a company, at least in the U.S., is going to make sure that it's a majority of American investors. Now, they don't know all of the investors that are going to be a part of it, but one name that did come up, Silver Lake, that they are going to be a part of this venture, and they expect to have more details for us later this week. Trump himself is expected to sign an executive order finishing up the deal. The advisors say that there's no more talks expected between the U.S. and China, that they're simply wrapping things up at this point, and we're expecting to get more clarity about what other companies will be involved in this new venture.
We may get that. He mentioned Murdoch, of course, actually Fox potentially. He also said Michael Dell. Neither one of those that I had heard in the last week or so of reporting. Emily, it's going to be a little while till the deal actually closes. We should make that point. You can agree on all the terms and everything else, but it's still going to be a bit till the deal closes and the actual control change takes place.
All right, Oracle pumping on that, getting some momentum. I'm not sure, guys, why Boxel or Plug Power are moving. Boxel, isn't this? No, it's a different company I was thinking of. This is up 350%, market cap of 19 million. I'd be very careful touching something like this. Whatever reason it's running for is creating quite the momentum right here, but that's up 350%. And then Plug, which has been around for a long time, that's up 14%. Not sure if that's kind of just an energy tailwind that's helping Plug, but that one's green as well. And then Oracle, obviously, based on the ability for them to own TikTok, is helping out a lot. Plug got a price rating increase. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was thinking of Boxable. Is that company even public? No, that's like the company that they buy or they make like 3D homes or something. Yeah, I was thinking of this company. They like make a home for you, but that is the wrong one. They are going public, but not yet. Yeah. They did go through a SPAC. That's correct. They did go through a SPAC. That's right. And this idea was out in 2021, though. It's been a long time since they pitched this idea, but that's the one that I had in mind. So yeah, I don't know why Boxel is running. Tesla right here, 442, and then Hoodie trying to get to 125. Yes, Elon did say he lives in one of their homes. I don't know if Elon still lives in one of their homes, but he did say that. Better still halted. $200 billion market cap, 350x is what Eric Jackson is saying this one can do. I'm curious if he creates a marketing campaign similar to Open Door, where he creates a real retail cult and army and they advocate for the stock. I mean, if anyone could do it, it's someone like him, right? That could galvanize that many people. But I wonder if people are going to be that excited. $200 billion market cap would be quite impressive in 2 years. I mean, that's just like, if that happens, it's one of the best performing stocks of all time in terms of the time frame of it. If that really does happen, maybe it does, but that would be quite aggressive to see. And if it does happen, it would be pretty wild. Tesla right here, still trying to run. It's got to break 444, get to 445 to see if it can get there. And if it can, that would be good. Again, Nebius is running. We covered Backed. That's running as well. I don't know if there's a reason for why Backed's running, but that one's green, up 31%. Hoodie, 124.69, and then Palantir, 179. Let's get a little bit more of an update on the new CEOs of Oracle as well, as they transition from one CEO to two co-CEOs. Both of these CEOs were two of the people that were covering most of their cloud division at Oracle.
David, I think obviously Safra and Larry have had a good run together. Safra's delivered incredible value for the last decade as CEO. So I guess the question was, why would you do this now? And I think the timing is right in the sense of we're at the beginning of this AI wave. Both Clay and Mike have done a great job leading this organization. Mike's been there 17 years. Clay's been there 11 years. So you have the right people to kind of take over. Clay from the infrastructure side, Mike as more on the application industry side. And so I think the timing's, again, everyone was asking, why now? They're doing really well.
The timing makes so much sense. I mean, cloud is exploding for Oracle. So it makes a lot of freaking sense that they have two cloud CEOs as the main people. Shout out to Mike long-term. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Can I join the stock draft emit with 100% grab? You can pick whatever stock price you want for me. Shout out to Mike. Obviously, his conviction is very high on grab. For those that don't follow Mike, I'm putting his Twitter right there in the chat. You should definitely give him a follow if you care about grab. His mind on the macro, CapEx, AI, I really value, and I really enjoy reading his content. But I would say he is the number one authority on DD on grab. I mean, he has posted over 300 threads on grab on that platform. So if you're not following Mike, you can definitely follow him. And yes, Mike, you can join the stock draft with 100% grab. We got to break 650. We break 650. This can get very exciting. We got to break 650. Tesla, very close to 440. Wow, it got to 444.92. It got to 444.92. Let's see. 445 resistance is 50,000 shares. Let me check the poll. 38% of you say 500 end of year. 21% say under 400. 25% of you say 600 end of year for Tesla. So 63% of you say Tesla will be between 500 and 600 by the end of the year. I mean, if it does, I'm not going to be complaining. People, there were Tesla bears that were like, you bought too late at 335. It's like, I don't know, dude. At 335, that thing was stuck between 315 and 340 basically for like 3 months. And that's why I bought at 335. But I also do think, a lot of Tesla's move is momentum. A lot of Tesla's move is expectations for Q3 being good. A lot of Tesla's move is also based on a potential optimist tailwind that, we might see in Q3. And a lot of it's also, as rates came down. S&P 500, if that rallies up to 68, 6,900, you're probably going to get Tesla participating. So I don't know how sustainable the Tesla move is, but every dollar it gets above 400 makes it feel more sustainable that Tesla's going to actually hold the 400s, which would be very, very exciting, especially for people that DCA'd heavily into this name over the past couple of years. Also, Elon bought $1 billion worth of stock. Elon bought $1 billion worth of stock. And so, that is enough to get people very, very excited, along with the $1 trillion compensation package that he has now. SoFi right there, back above 30. That's up 1.8%. We got to 30.10 on the day. And then grab 645, high of day 650 is what we need to see. Volume is already 15 million for grab. S&P goes green. S&P going green. Going green for the day. At least for now. Not too bad. Rumor is that Elon will be buying more stock before the vote. Oh my goodness. I have not heard of that rumor, but if Elon buys more stock before the vote, which is the compensation vote, right? Also, the vote is going to solidify if Tesla can buy a piece of XAI as well. So that would be very, very bullish and very exciting. Maccabee, thank you for the $20 super chat. Praying and hoping for green for all and everyone. Let's finish September strong. Let's see. I mean, so far, September 22nd, we are transitioning a little bit from that early morning red to a bit more green. So hopefully we can hold on to that for the coming days. And if we do, would not be the worst thing. Maccabee, thank you for the super chat. And then Neil, thank you for the $7. Amit, thank you for not selling out and keeping this channel pure. I love tuning in daily. Your energy and conversations are great. Thank you. Neil, thank you for being here. You guys make it very, very exciting and fun every single day for me to be here and for me to do this and for me to convince everyone how to actually pronounce words in the English language, because I feel like there is a duty that I have, given I'm in this position, to educate the masses on proper pronunciation. I just feel like, that's not something that I take for granted. Wow, Apple 252. Bro, Apple has 14 billion shares outstanding. It's up $7. Apple is up another $98 billion in market cap today. 3.75. Dude, Apple's getting ready to push 4 trillion. Apple is getting ready to push 4 trillion. You got Nvidia at 4.2, Microsoft at 3.8, Apple at 3.7. The Googs is back at 3, and then Amazon at 2.4, Meta's at 1.9. So, and then Broadcom's at 1.6. Where's Tesla? Tesla's at 1.4. All right, so Apple getting ready to potentially get there. 252 on Apple, and then Hoodie been oscillating between 123 and 124 all day. Yeah, Apple still is only up 11% on the year. Wait, is it up 11% now? Hold on. Apple year to date it's up 4%, dude. Even with today's run, it's up 4%, which is kind of funny because, like, imagine Apple's up 20% year to date. I mean, this thing is going to be closer to 300 end of year, and that's a big part of the S&P. A big part of the S&P. Edward, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And thank you for becoming a channel member. All right, let's see some of the other headlines we've got going on across the board. I don't know when Trump's going to be live. We know we got Dan Ives coming in about 10 minutes, and we'll get his thoughts on what's going on. What questions, put in the chat, what questions would you like me to ask Dan Ives? I know Orbs is on everyone's mind, so I definitely will ask him about that. Tesla, 444.98. It got close, but still has not broke 445. And, I'll ask Dan about Tesla, Palantir, all those conventional names as well. And we'll get some of his thoughts. Dude, if we have $4 trillion companies by end of year, that would be exciting. Oh, by the way, Buffett confirmed today they sold all their BYD. They're out of BYD. So Buffett is officially, or I should say Berkshire is officially out of BYD. They are done with it. And they moved on. It would be kind of cool for them to buy Tesla. Now, there's likely no way in hell they're going to be buying Tesla, but still, it would be kind of fun if they did. Unfortunately, they're not doing that. Another quick stat right here I want to show everybody. Going back to the bullish case for Google, Google's AI domains month-over-month traffic in August. Pretty exceptional. Gemini 4%, DeepMind 3%, Google AI 6%, Notebook LM, which is a product that is very underrated, up 8%, and then Google AI Studio up 12%. The average growth is about 5% month over month from July to August. Again, more of these AI-specific Google products getting traction, which is likely why we're seeing Gemini also continue to lead in terms of ChatGPT on the App Store from an AI perspective. Yeah, Notebook LM is wild. I have not used it as much as I should, but it is one of the most useful, I think, AI products that are out there. And that one continues to get some excitement. What's your favorite color? That is a good question because he does wear a ton of colors. I know Wedbush has an opinion on SoFi. I don't know if Dan has an opinion on SoFi, but we can see I do think Wedbush has some coverage on that. Palantir right there, 179. And then NVIDIA, 175 on the day. All right, let's see what else we've got going on. Look at Path. Path has been this. All right, last time I checked it, it was $12. I think like a couple months ago. Path stock is $12.71. All right, so it's up 7%. This one really has been stuck for a while. Robotic processing automation, RPA, has not really been the AI tailwind, or I should say AI has not been a tailwind for RPA as much as investors thought it would be. And this one is, really been stuck. I think Kathy liquidated her stake a long time ago. She sells a little bit, but definitely sold a decent amount of it. Here's CEO. He's live. Let's see what he has to say on what's going on with AI demand.
Really highlight the realization that when you're building a planetary scale infrastructure that's really required to allow artificial intelligence to reach its potential, that you are going to have to plug into really all of the resources that are available, and those are private sector resources, and those are public sector resources. The meeting yesterday, the P3 meeting, it was a wonderful opportunity for exchanging of ideas. The opportunity to be with the president and the prime minister in the UK, once again, just an incredible opportunity to kind of bring together different constituents that have different tooling that allows for the mobilization of the order of magnitude of capital that's required to allow this build out to occur.
What is that? How big are we?
Oh,
are you thinking?
So I think a big one of the narratives out there is that we keep hearing these incredibly large deals being announced by the AI labs, by the hyperscalers, by the neoclouds, and that is an incredible indication of the scale of the demand. But what it does not do is it doesn't really speak to all of the things that need to happen and all of the investment that needs to occur in order to provide an environment where these investments in the data centers and the supercomputers, and I'm talking about, it's everything from energy exploration, through power generation, through transmission, all the way through the data centers, and ultimately up and through the supercomputers to the models and to the application layer. And
all right, so CoreWeave CEO, not saying anything too crazy from what we've heard. You guys said he sounds like Andrew Tate. He definitely does. He definitely does sound like Andrew Tate. But yeah, I mean, he's continuously saying AI is real. It's not going anywhere. Grab right there, trying to really push 650. We got to 648. And, if AI is not going anywhere and the demand continues to be strong, then CoreWeave will do well. Now, CoreWeave and NVIDIA had a really interesting deal last week. NVIDIA essentially gave them a put option to say, hey, we know you're buying our GPUs. If you can't resell them, we will buy them back at the tune of $6.3 billion by, I think, 2032. So they have about 7 years to buy back that material from CoreWeave. I think that's NVIDIA saying, hey, we're so confident you're going to resell this that you're good to go. But CoreWeave is getting some insurance on some of the material that they're buying. So I think that's not the worst thing in the world. And CoreWeave right there down about 1.5%. Again, CoreWeave's been rocky all year. I know it got to like 180 at one point, then it got to 150. The insiders then sold at around 100 when their lockup ended. But that stock now at around 120. Nebius has been, as of recent, a little bit of a better play based on the deal they got with Microsoft. Nebius right there, 103.34. Tesla still has not broken above 445. She's trying. Keeps getting rejected at 444. Same thing with Hood. Gets rejected at 124.50 to get to 125. And Google trying to go green. Again, the reason BKKT is up is because Mike Alfred has joined the board. I don't think there's any other news. Let me check real quick. It's up 50%. This is a Bitcoin financial services company. It's a $160 million market cap. It's obviously a small cap. There's probably a little bit of a short float here. Mike Alfred was on IREN, so probably a lot of people are thinking that this is a next-gen crypto infrastructure play around Bitcoin, AI, stablecoins. I mean, there's a lot of narratives you can make on this one. 48% in a day is pretty aggressive. You got the volume at 10 million already. This does not trade 10 million shares a day, so I would just be cautious if you hop into this one. Wow, Oracle passes 900 billion. 317, there she goes. $900 billion company. Again, Larry Ellison owns 47% of it. He is just under, Larry Ellison would be the richest guy on earth if it wasn't for Elon buying up Tesla stock and then allowing Tesla to run the way it has run. But he's just under Elon now in terms of richest people on the planet on the Forbes list. And I think Elon's at 450 and he's at like 370. But it would be higher if Tesla had not run. That is pretty incredible. I mean, just seeing Larry Ellison, dedicated his whole life to, and he hasn't really sold. Last time he sold stock was 2023, and he's barely sold. So he's just consistently held on to Oracle. Amit, when will Tanner come onto your podcast? Tanner and I do a podcast every single Monday along with Roy. So today at 9:30 Eastern, we'll definitely get Tanner's thoughts on SoFi. And yeah, I'm sure he will be happy now that SoFi has really made his brand. Dude, and Tanner deserves all the credit. I mean, there you go, 30, 15. Tanner has been advocating for this name for 4 years now. You know, the first time Tanner and I talked, he pitched me on SoFi. So it's like he's been following this journey for so long. S&P trying to make a breakout right there, 664. And so I am genuinely happy for him that now it's breaking out. And I mean, I would imagine he has a very sizable position in this stock, probably built an average under $12. And, you know, every dollar up, if you own 10, 20,000 shares is $10,000, $20,000. It's the beauty of compounding. So for those that are in heavy on this, you are seeing some momentum. Again, Iran, they doubled their GPU capacity this morning. That's why they're running. That's up 8%. APLD, I'm not sure why that one's running. I don't know if there was a deal announced with that one. That's up 5%. They do have that CoreWeave deal from a couple months ago. But Iran did increase their computing capacity. You do have some people buying calls on APLD. 224,000. Someone just bought about 30 minutes ago of the $224 call, or sorry, the $24 call for Jan 2026. The stock's at 2140. So you do have some people buying close to the money call options. Let me look at the overall options market today. Wow, look at that. Snapchat's number 2. All right, so overall derivatives, Tesla's been traded the most about an hour into the market open. Snapchat's second. Then you have Apple, Opendoor, AMD, NVIDIA, IBIT, Palantir, Hood, SoFi, Oklo, BMNR, Webull. Is Webull making a move today? Webull is up, about 5%. Then you have GameStop, Rigetti, Ethereum, Qubit, CoreWeave, and Intel. Those are your top movers an hour into the day for the options market. A lot of exciting names that are up there, and obviously a lot of liquidity coming into those names based on the options market. 3 stats I want to share with you guys as well, because should have Dan Ives coming on in a couple minutes. I shared these last night on the futures stream, but 3 stats that I thought were interesting. Number 1, 27 billion shares were traded on Friday. This was the 3rd busiest day since Bloomberg started tracking how many shares are traded in 2008. So you had 27 billion shares on Friday that were traded, which again was one of the largest days ever. The second thing was Citadel said retail clients have been net buyers the last 19 out of 22 weeks. This is the longest since 2020, which obviously is a lot for retail. So 19 out of the last 22 weeks was pretty green, or at least was pretty strong in terms of net inflows for retail investors. And then the final stat right here was 9 out of 11 sectors had net inflows throughout the entirety of the market, including the largest weekly retail inflow since December. So Goldman reported that last week through Wednesday saw the largest weekly retail inflow since December. 9 out of 11 of those sectors participated in that largest weekly retail inflow. That means that money is coming into the markets. Obviously, the inevitable question that everyone's asking is, hey, is it too much money? Is it bubblish? And I think in certain parts of the market, sure. But in other parts of the market, like the parts that matter, aka the Max 7, I think multiples are relatively tame. And as long as those multiples stays tame, along with earnings continuing to back up those multiples, we shouldn't see too much pain. BMNR right here on the day is down 7.7%. That one is taking a hit. Nebius right here, all-time highs. That is green. What about Oklo? Is that one still holding on? Oklo, that one's flat. Nano Nuclear, that's down 6. All right. SMR, that's down 5. Okay, so the nuclear name's taking a bit of a hit, which is not a bad thing given how much they ran over the past couple of weeks. One would argue it's probably some healthy consolidation. Then Rocket Lab, that's up 4%. Rocket Lab was flat in the morning. Rocket Lab going back for 50, even after they announced the $750 million of dilution last week when that came out. Falling Knife, thank you for the $200 super chat. My son told me I forgot to turn on Emit in the car on the way to preschool today. That's incredible, dude. That's that makes me very, very, very happy. Thank you for that, Falling Knife. Appreciate that. Congrats on 100K. Did anyone see SLNH? They have 1 gigawatt in pipeline, but numbers for $55 million market cap. It's been running like the early days of Iran. SLNH, I have not looked into that one. Solana Holdings, that's up 55% on the day. engages in the design, manufacturing, and sale of test and measurement instruments and systems that use an array of technologies to solve complex real-world applications in numerous industries, including manufacturing, electronics, semiconductor, solar, commercial, military, automotive, and data storage. I'll put this on the list. I mean, again, it's a small cap, so it can be very volatile. It's already up 55% on the day. But the thing about Iren and Bitfarms and Cyphers, all of them were small caps, and now they're all kind of sitting at that $5 to $10 billion market cap, which is still relatively small, but it's not as small as under 100 million. And those names can move, especially if they get any level of big contracts from a hyperscaler or even from a subcontractor of a hyperscaler like a CoreWeave. So definitely one to take a look at. That's up 50% green on the day. Oracle continuing to move. That one not slowing down. 318. That's up 3.3% on the day. Is Next moving? Next Decade is up 3%. All right, we saw a lot of insider buying on that. And then VG, that is also up 3.8%. Both of those names are names that our boy Matt Money and Chris like. Better's up 112%. All right, this is the new name by Eric Jackson. Better, wow. It was at 35 when it was halted. It just unhalted and it doubled at 72.49. Now it's halted again. I mean, look, he's claiming it's a $200 billion market cap in 2 years. There's not a lot of stocks that are worth 50 million that are going to 200 billion in 2 years. Obviously, people are probably excited about the potential of that. And yeah, that is likely why it doubled. So there you go. 72.49 on Better. That is pretty aggressive. Captain Planet says, Amit, I meant to tell you that now my kids feel it's normal to say wake your ass up in the morning, especially when they hear your voice in the morning. Drop off. That is hilarious. I'm sorry for teaching your children to use not the best words, but sometimes it's time to wake your ass up in the morning. We got to get into these markets. We got to analyze these markets. All right, folks, someone who's going to help us analyze these markets. It has been a couple months since he's been on the show. I'm very, very, very grateful to have him onto the show and to get his thoughts on what's going on in the broader markets. This is one of the most profound tech analysts in the broader stock market. He is one of the only institutional analysts that called our beloved Palantir at $15. Palantir today is at $180. You really got the street to look deeply into Palantir. Has also been early Tesla. We got a lot to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dan Ives. Dan, what's
Great
up?
to be with you.
How you doing, man? It's been a minute.
I know. Congrats on everything. It's great to connect. It's been a while, a few months, and it's great to be here, man.
Well, it's great to have you. It has been quite the journey. Obviously, seeing everything that you've done as well has been pretty damn incredible. And I think there's a lot to talk about as you've taken on some new roles, really kind of doubled down on your thesis around technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll get into all that. Dan, I want to start off with this first question, which is, since 2023, there's been two people that have been publicly saying it's a bull market. You and Tom Lee more on the macro side, you on the, hey, AI tech innovation not slowing down. I mean, 2 years have continued. It looks like this bull market maybe has a chance to continue gaining some momentum. What are your thoughts on the past 2 years and if it sets up a foundation for this party to continue over the next 5 years?
Yeah, look, I mean, we think we're less than 10, 15% through this. Because it's my view that only 3% of enterprises have gone down the AI path in the US. None in Europe, none in Asia, ex-China. Now Middle East, you're starting to see with sovereigns. I actually think Street is underestimating. I think Oracle was like a little snapshot, what you saw this last quarter. I think I'll say like the Microsoft and Meta quarters too, in terms of last quarter. Look, I think Street's underestimating numbers 20, 25% next few years. So it's our view, like this tech bull market, it's another 2 to 3 years at least. As it all plays out in US tech, big tech, will continue dominating, then the second, third, fourth derivatives start to play out.
Why do you think the street is still underestimating the magnitude of this AI revolution? I mean, we are seeing use cases start to unfold every day, especially in the enterprise. ChatGPT, 700 million weekly users. Humanoid robotics is just beginning. FSD is taking over the world. I mean,
do you think there's a healthy level of skepticism, or a lot of that skepticism is from people that just don't understand the concept of what AI is doing for society?
I think like it's a combination of both because because you have to be able. It goes back to like in 2007, like iPhone launched. You have to be able to look ahead outside of just AT&T as one provider where it's going. You have to be able to, like in Tesla 2013, 2014, to see the future in terms of where you think it's going to be over the next 8, 10 years. Palantir, same thing. And obviously, me and you have talked about that a ton. You have to be able to see commercial growth, and as they dominate what I believe ultimately is really going to be globally, Fortune 500 and Global 2000. NVIDIA, same thing. You can't just look at it in terms of that initial pop. You have to think about what this is going to look like next 3 to 4 years. And people aren't thinking, like, in my view, I can tell you from like conversation institutional, like they're not thinking autonomous, robotics,
Right.
That's what they're still underestimating is actually we probably have more growth in the next 2 years than we've had in the last 10 in terms of tech.
It's quite exciting. And in my personal life, and I'm sure so many people right here in the chat, every day they're experiencing the world of AI. And it starts to make you wonder how, you hear takes by people saying data centers don't matter. It's like, well, when I produce these pictures on Nano Banana on Google, that takes a lot of data centers and computing facilities. So it's hard to imagine these things don't matter as much as they've started to impact our daily lives. Let's talk about Palantir. Obviously, been a hell of a journey. S&P 500, NASDAQ called it at 15, stocks at 180. I mean, the biggest question that I'm assuming you're getting from institutional clients is the same thing I get from retail people that own the stock and are excited about the stock is valuation. How are you thinking of this company at a $400 billion market cap right now?
I mean, I view it more. It's just like I viewed like so many tech companies when they went from like revenue multiples to what ultimately was going to be cash flow. I mean, my view is like when's Palantir? Okay, think about 3, 4 billion free cash flow. Like, when does that go? To me, it's 8, 10, 12 billion over the next 3 to 4 years. I mean, I think that ultimately free cash flow is going to be the way that you value Palantir over the coming years. And when you think about the margins, the commercial business is more than double the margins of the government business.
Yeah.
So what happens is like names like this, it's very easy to get caught up in like most expensive company ever, revenue multiple. You have to be able to be like, okay, like where does free cash flow go when you start to actually get 10, 20, 30% of companies in the world going to Palantir?
Do you think the use cases, as you've like talked to the company, gone to their conferences, which I think was your original thesis back at 15, or just continue to expand so that Palantir is like the number one name that enterprises want to call up?
I mean, I have so many examples of companies that they kind of like shoot away the concept of Palantir, maybe like even 12 months ago. Today, they're signing deals with them.
Right.
Because if they come in for a demo and you actually give them access to your data, and Clark talks like meritocracy, like there's no company that could compete. I mean, I don't want to say that factually. Now, others could say that they could compete, but no one could compete. So it's my view, like when I look at Palantir, I don't think about it like 15 to 180. I view it like, okay, this, given the opportunity, I think there's $1 trillion market cap next 2 or 3 years. Now, look, I'm not saying you don't go through bumps and bruises along the way.
Right.
But I don't look, it comes down to like it's my view, like with Nvidia, it's 5 trillion, ultimately $6 trillion market cap. It's where the hyperscalers sit and why I think they continue to move high. Because there's really no true competition. Now look, our Ives AI 30 ETF, it's all about second, third, fourth derivatives. So that's where like look at Snowflake this last quarter. Look at MongoDB. What that's showing is like the consumption models, they're starting to click.
Right.
So like I think the main thing here is you have to be able to like put the breadcrumbs together to kind of see where this is all going, and that I think that's some of the most bullish triangulated sort of data that we have along with all the checks that we do.
Does it feel good? I mean, because for retail, it definitely feels good. For you, you got a lot of pushback when you put out the price target. I mean, do you feel a little vindicated on this name?
Look, I mean, again, I never view this as some sort of like gloating, like haters wrong. You know, again, I view it more as like it's proving the thesis, and it makes me excited to see it work because I'm such a believer in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I compare it similar to like Apple in the early day and Tesla and Nvidia and Mike and so many of the others, because to me it's like validation. I'm excited just for like Carp and the team and how they've proven it, and now just to watch like institutional investors really do like a 180 on it. It's been fun and just exciting to watch.
Especially because it's been backed by the numbers, you know?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, man. It's like, and like, look, you talk about it, and you guys have so much great conversation on the show, and obviously, on, you know, in terms of so many investors that have gotten so ramped up on the space. But I think the biggest thing is like, if you get caught up in the headlines in these types of Nvidia, China numbers, you know, like they're not going to be restricted. They're going to be restricted. Like if you get caught up in it, that I think is some of the danger, because you have to just be able to eyes focus on like use cases, what customers are saying, the work we see both in the U.S. as well as in Asia, and especially in Middle East and some of the demand. And the reality is like for the first time in 30 years, like US is ahead of China when it comes to tech.
Right. As Johnny Wineglass says, Dan lets his clothes do the talking. So that is that.
Thanks, John. Yeah. But as we've said, man, it's like part of it is just like, you know, it's just like you lay it out there, right? Like haters will hate, and that's what they do, and I get it. But we're living in a fourth industrial revolution. So it's my view, like if you have like an 8-year-old, they're not going to need a driver's license. So I don't think about it like ChatGPT, and I'm viewing it like, okay, where is this going?
Right.
And that's to me why like this is going to be a tech bull market that I think rages on. But it speaks to our view of like the derivatives. Like the Akko has been a huge name that we've been bullish because you have to focus on like you know G Vernova, like you look at CoreWeave, Nemesis, some other. In other words, like it's might be like where the derivatives are playing out. That's key.
So let's talk about Orbs, which is the newest thing that you have become part of, 8Co. This is a WorldCoin treasury company. You got an investment by Bitmine, our friend Tom Lee, of about $20 million. And yeah, I'll let you give the pitch right here. What is WorldCoin, and why did you decide to become the chair of a company that essentially builds a treasury for WorldCoin?
Yeah, no, and thanks. And look, I wouldn't do this just for a crypto to take a stock from X to Y. Like I did this because I'm a believer that when you look at Orbs and you look at what Sam Altman and the team have built with WorldCoin, that's going to be the single sign-on for AI, like in the future, in terms of the scanning technology, in terms of Iris and where everything's heading. I view it much more of an infrastructure tech play than a crypto play. And to me, it's really like when I look out into the future, between bots, robotic, you need human proof. This is going to look 16.5 million have signed on. Okay, already. We net's going to 100 million next year. I mean, that's why I'm so excited about this, because this is part of the AI future. I mean, this is really like an AI meets crypto intersection. And that's why I'm so excited to be a part of it, because I think it's going to be a huge part of the AI revolution when it comes to the actual authentication, human proof.
So when you mean human proof, I think the biggest question people have had is, are you talking about there's so many bots in the world of AI and fake impersonations that you need some type of technology that would verify that you are a human being on the internet?
I mean, at the core, yes. Like that's why like it's already pervasive in Asia
Right.
in terms of world. You see the lines across the board. Remember, it only came to the US a few months ago.
Yeah.
So when it comes like number two advertiser in Japan, getting your licenses in Malaysia, because where everything's heading between bots that we see on social media, but then when you think about like a robotic world, you're going to ultimately need a human proof identity. And this is so many years ahead of any other competition. I mean, that's why I view this very passionately and similar to like how I viewed Tesla early days, Nvidia, Palantir. Like it's one where it takes time to the education of it, but the technology speaks for itself. And that's why, I was with Saylor and Tom Lee, and in D.C. last week. We met with a bunch of senators and Congress, and to me, it's really like it's driving the vision that like as we go to an AI future, you need human proof authentication. I mean, this will be the de facto single sign-on, in my opinion.
So the other question I think that people are having on this, and that's you and Tom holding the actual orb itself that
Yeah.
does a biometric, is privacy. How do you kind of deal with the concerns that people just don't want to get their eyes scanned inside of some type of machine?
Look, the reality is it's actually the most privacy-driven solution there is out there. Because when you get your eyes scanned, it's literally in the orb for 20 seconds and then it goes to your phone in your world app. It
Right.
disappears. There's no like sort of dystopian sort of, view of this. That's why it's my view. Like it is a lockbox. It's actually the opposite. Like you have control of your data. It's decentralized. No one else. No big tech, no government. It's in your actual app and it's protected, in terms of, from a crypto perspective, with world, and I think that's what makes it so unique in terms of the technology they've built. But also it goes back to like that's why you have 16.5 million that have signed on.
Yeah.
Like and it's about 500,000 a week that are signed on. So like that, as such a believer in AI and such a believer of where we're going, this to me is probably one of the most exciting things that I've ever done, because it's not just being a chairman of a treasury strategy. It's actually being a part of what I view is really going to be an essential piece of the future of AI for humans.
What's also really excited is it's at the intersection of AI and crypto. So the reason BitMine invested was because WorldCoin's being run on Ethereum, and then obviously the whole AI angle towards human proof of human is very important. So I'm assuming that's why you took the job to be the chairman of the board. You see it as a crypto play, but you see it as an AI integration in crypto for the first time that we've seen.
It's really the only utility out there, right? I could say in the world that heads down this path, right? I mean, I view it much more of an AI tech play than a crypto play. Crypto, obviously, it's my view. Like we're buying world because I view like the price of world, given how many humans are going to sign on and the network effect. We think it is massively undervalued. Like that's why like it's our view. Like that's what any dollar that's what we're buying, right? In terms of world. So it aligns very much with my view as a just put on the tech hat in terms of where everything's heading. Because it's my view, like we're only in year 3 of an 8 to 10 year build out of this initial phase of AI.
Final question on this. People have said Apple and Google, are they going to play a role in this? Because our devices are so close to us. Any thoughts on kind of how they would get involved with biometrics?
I mean, I think big tech is going to play a big role when it comes to, this technology and the tech players that sign on in the future.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one where when you think about what this ecosystem will be, it's in my view over the next 6, 9, 12 months. I think it's, I mean, this is it's Palantir in 2022 relative to single sign on when it comes to AI.
All right. And there you
Yeah.
go. Congratulations on it. Very, very exciting to
No,
see.
we're super, and Tom, and having Tom as a partner, relative to being an investor with BitMiner has been awesome. Huge vote of confidence, along with a lot of other great investors.
Tesla 440. You've been bullish on the name for a while. I mean, I guess the question is, why do you think it's getting a bid? And is the $1 trillion compensation package for Elon to you, from an institutional perspective, bullish?
I mean, get Musk, that's what the board needed to do because he continues to be the best asset and the key asset for Tesla. Because it's my view, like what's starting to happen now in the stock, it's not about deliveries, it's not about like margins. Every investor is focused on what is Robotaxi, what is Optimus going to mean to this story. And it's look, we've conservatively said autonomous alone is $1 trillion. 2 trillion is like almost like a base valuation for Tesla. But when it comes to the physical AI world, the two best physical AI plays, it's Tesla and Nvidia.
Yep.
I mean, no, look, has this been a tornado that we've gone through with Tesla the last 6, 9 months with Musk, Trump administration, everything, politics, brand issue? Of course. But now we're past that. And I think I think what you see is like, you're showing like some of the other price targeting because now institutional, like they're starting to catch up. They're recognizing like, look, no one wants to miss Tesla going from 350 to 650.
No one wants to miss it.
Because guess what? You miss that as an analyst, that's where you're figuring out Arial, Times New Roman, what type of font on the resume. I mean, and I think that's the issue, right? Like I always say, like a lot of like a lot of the bears from the 25th floor of the New York City office building, wearing the Peter Millar, you can't see AI in the spreadsheets. And that's how so many have missed the most transformational growth stocks the last 20 years. Because if you focus just on valuation, and look, it's everything like me and you've talked about for years, like you miss the stories. You cannot put them in a box because you have to look out 3, 5, 7 years relative to the biggest tech revolution we've seen in probably at least in the last 40, 50 years.
And I think like our friend Tom Lee says, these are real companies. These aren't just stocks. And so when people are buying a share of Tesla, they feel they're buying something real, not looking at the spreadsheet and saying, all right, what's the PE? Like, no, they're buying the future and they're willing to pay a premium for that future.
20% of cars in the next 3, 4, 5 are going to be autonomous. So when you think about where everything's going, that's the future for Tesla. You look at Optimus, robotics, that's the future. And now also when it comes to Musk is like wartime CEO, right? Like that's what you want to see. And then the other thing is like you're going to see Trump administration, regulatory is going to be, what I view is like really going to start to become much more friendly relative to autonomous. And that's bullish for Tesla. And it comes down to Waymo. Waymo has done phenomenal things, but they can scale at those prices. That's why the limited relative cities and limited scale.
Do you think, or let me ask you the question. Have you lost any faith in Elon's ability to pull this off? Or do you think even with all the distractions, he's going to take us to the promised land?
Mike a day from our work, he's more focused. Like it's almost like what he went through the last, whatever, call it the DC experiment or whatever. He has a different gear. It reminds me of the Elon from 2013, 2014. because also recognizing that XAI is gonna, Tesla's gonna have a significant piece of that
Yep.
at the shareholder meeting. Also very well aware of everything that like, Sam's doing OpenAI, Zuckerberg's doing at Meta, Nadella's doing at Microsoft. Like it is a pure arms race that's happening, and he recognizes Elon how important he is in driving this future.
What was your gut reaction when you saw "Shut Up, Dan"?
I mean, I knew just knowing
I would
him,
have
and
laughed it off, right? It's like,
no, and to me it was like when that all happened, like I knew he was gonna be like not happy, pissed, or whatever. I knew the board probably would be surprised, just given as such as someone that's been such a huge supporter of him, knowing him, the board for so long. But when you're so bullish on a concept and a strategy, you know what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Even though it's not pleasant, you need with a loud mouthpiece to try to course correct. Because I mean, you could say like it's some of the stuff that like Eric Jackson's done, like with Open, or you've done, Robinhood and some other. I mean, the point is like when you're a huge believer in a story, I think you play a role to when you have institutional feedback or retail feedback to communicate that. And I think
Yeah.
it was ultimately well received. I think the board got the message. And at the end of the day, despite that back and forth, it's I think it now puts them in a very, I think, a phenomenal spot.
And I think you were also being pretty objective because the point of your note that day was, hey, Elon just needs to not focus that much on politics. And of course, Elon says, shut up. But that's you being real. You're saying, hey, this is what we need.
Look, and it's also the reality of like knowing how important he is. Because you can have Jensen around the world focused on AI. You can't have Zuckerberg as wartime CEO. Like, you and I needed, we've resolved it now, so we're in good standing, me and him. But I needed to like communicate that, and also that was also communicating it to the board too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just so we're clear, like there was multiple sort of stakeholders that was, and that was also telling the board like, yo, get off the treadmill, get him a pay package, like look, others in the Tesla community have talked about that, but they needed to secure him on and also get him to 25% in terms of that would be a key I think threshold relative to ownership.
Right. Nvidia, Dan, I'm hearing it's topped out. It's a bubble. What are you thinking about Nvidia?
I mean, they said Brady, right? After like 2 Super Bowls, it was done. I mean, the point is like there's one chip in the world fueling AI revolution. Like the reality is like you don't even have China numbers factored in, sovereign, Middle East. Think about physical AI, robotics, autonomy. I mean, that's why like I've talked about 5 trillion, then eventually 6 trillion. Like that's my view of it. I'm not saying you don't have headlines and the haters come out, bears come out of hibernation mode, the usual. But this is one like this is going to be the chip that fuels this new world
Right.
for consumers and enterprise. So it's like to bet against that, I just don't I don't understand that. You know what I mean? I don't understand be like, oh numbers, the beats aren't as strong. We're gonna look at numbers in the next 2-3 years. Numbers are underestimated right now in the street 20-25%. And I think that continues to kind of be the call.
Yeah, and Street has them at 30% growth. If they get anywhere near 40, 45, especially with China revenue and do $8 of EPS, I mean, this thing's trading at 25 times. This is not the most expensive name in the market.
And then you could argue like 250, 300. I mean, the point is like you have another stocks, but like that's how these things go. Because look, I think like in the future, let's say next like 1-2 years, we're gonna be talking about 4 trillion, 5 trillion, $6 trillion market caps. And in this administration, that I believe tech now is on the right side relative to like pay for play model, however you want to think about it. Like it is going to be a great time for US big tech, over the coming years.
What do you think about AMD relative to Nvidia? I don't know if you actually have coverage on
Yeah,
it, but
AMD is in our AI 30. I mean, I'm like a huge fan of Lisa Su. I'm a huge, because it's also my belief like they will be a major participant in this next phase of AI. So, now granted, like last year was a very painful year for AMD because obviously so early, the hype these things take time to actually like build out. I think now they're in like a phenomenal position. But also it comes down to like, okay, it it's like what makes Palantir? Carp's a key part of it.
yep.
What makes Musk? Musk is a key part of Tesla. What makes AMD? Like Lisa Su is one of the best tech CEOs ever. So I think also a lot of times like you're betting on the management team. Like let's take with Intel, like Gelsinger, dude, you never were gonna make that bet ever. Like unless you lost a bet to make that bet. So I think that's why sometimes like I think a lot of investors they underestimate how important having the right management team is in these companies. Now then clearly look like Benioff at Salesforce, like this is like a moment of truth, right? Like one of the best CEOs ever, like AI eating their lunch, like reverse it. How you gonna do it? Like this is like a gut check time. Ellison and Safra went through the same thing. Bam.
Yeah. No, I think that's very, very, very fair. And obviously Lisa Su, she understands what she's doing. It's just not growth is not as amazing as Nvidia, but that does not mean they're not going to play a massive role in this AI revolution.
That's why to me with AI revolution, we talk about it on our ETF, it's like it's all okay, core tech is gonna be the ones that lead. But like the second, third, and fourth derivatives are just gonna play such a key role to from software, cybersecurity, consumer, chips, Broadcom, AMD, some of the China plays, Baba, Baidu. I mean, I just think it's very important. Look, that's why Aku's been there, you know, Nebusis, some others. I think it's just extremely important.
Congrats on the launch of this ETF, 700 million AUM, closing in on $1 billion, Mr. Dan Ives. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, in general,
Yeah.
what's kind of your philosophy around the ETF?
Yeah, I mean, a little over 3 months. It's been, look, man, I mean, that's one like you launch it with $1 and a strategy, right? Like, but to me, it's like the strategy is very clear. And I think investors understand like how we do it. It's like when they're investing in the ETF, it's all based on a research finding like who are the winners, who are the 30 winners in AI. And look, 3 million air miles the last 25 years. Like it's like that's what I think helped us seeing things maybe that people see you're able to see it earlier and you're able to maybe like not get caught up in some of the noise. But I wanted a vehicle that investors, no matter where they are in the world, if they want to bet on AI, they could bet on a pure play AI. What I view as kind of the core way to play it. And every quarter we change it, right? Like we could add a few names, subtract based on all the work we've done. So it's been really fun, really exciting, just based on look, it's just like ACO. It's all about the trends. Like it's all related to the same trends that I believe passionately. This is still second inning of 9 inning game. 10:15, 10:30 p.m. in that party that started at 9 p.m. that goes to 4 a.m. Like I'm not saying in that party DJ doesn't stop playing music. Someone drops glass on the dance floor. Cops come. You think siren. At the end of the day, the Bears watching the party through the window on the outside, saying, "Yeah, it doesn't look that fun. I'm gonna go upstairs, read a book." Guess what? When the Bulls and Bears meet up at 6 a.m. at the diner, Bulls had a lot better night than the Bears.
And even though the Bears read a book, the Bulls have a lot better of a story to tell those Bears.
Because the Bears are laser focused just on valuation and underestimating what's happening in this new world. They're not understanding the spend, they're not doing the work. And that's why, like, I think that's the opportunity in terms of like alpha and like you, there's so many opportunities in this market because of noise, because of a lot of like bull bear, right? It's what makes a market. But I think to me, that's what's been so exciting.
Okay, last question before we get into some rapid fire. Apple, you've been saying, hey, it's gonna be Apple. You can't deny Apple. What do you think is the reason for why investors are taking this from 180 to 250?
Because you recognize they're a toll collector on the AI consumer highway. Like one way or another, you're going through Easy Pass. Like you're going through Apple. Now, have they been late? Has it been a Back to the Future Michael J. Fox moment? The last like 3-4 events, yeah. But now Google winning DOJ suit, that's it, man. It sets it up. They're gonna have to double down Gemini. That's gonna be their core solution. And then you combine it with this upgrade cycle, which surprisingly has actually been like pretty robust. I mean, it looks like
Especially in China.
Asia, but also that's without air out, and it looks like from everything we see, like they're boosting supply 25-30% in the supply chain. So it's just like the setup there. It reminds me of like Alphabet 6 months ago. DOJ, search is eating AI, whatever. Take out any other narrative, it's going to get broken up. You know what I mean? New York City cab drivers, bearish type thing. That's why Alphabet was like a table pounder.
Yeah. And the other thing is on Apple, it's like, look, if Siri ends up becoming useful in 2026 and you have 2 billion people with a personal agent that are willing to pay maybe $10 a month,
No,
I mean,
no, it's all about install base. You know, a lot of times, like with Oracle, people are like, why is it? Because guess what? Like at first they messed up, but when you've built that global ecosystem and customer base since the 70s, you tap into that. That to me, that was the Oracle story. That will be the Apple story. That said, has it been painful watching this AI one step forward, two steps back? But the reality is it's going to have to happen externally.
I love it. All right, Dan, thank you so much for taking.
Great, and great. Thanks everyone hopping on. Hit me on, obviously actual LinkedIn or anything.
I got like 3 rapid fires for you, and then we'll get you out of here. Aklo, you raised the price target today to 150. Look, a lot of people are saying this thing has no revenue, 20 billion. How do you kind of justify the valuation?
They're going to be the main nuclear play where you need 6 to 8 times more energy to fuel data centers. Like, I mean, I think it could, you're looking at what could be a 40-50 billion dollar market. Like, it just goes back to the same concept, right? Like, just yelling, into an empty forest on this name the last like 3. I mean, to somebody that has been like Palantir-ish like in terms of some of the hate, I just view like they are years ahead of anyone else on nuclear. And you cannot talk about AI just like you can't talk about, without authentication human. You cannot talk about it without energy.
And so the lack of revenue to you is not that big of a deal because there's so much coming in the future that you're just pulling for that multiple today.
Just based on the deals they could win, you'll go like this, you have $1 billion of revenue.
Right.
So I don't get caught up in that relative. I get caught up more like what I see in terms of what's happening in the market.
All right, a couple stocks that you might not care too much about, so feel free to say nothing, but the audience definitely wants to know your thoughts. SoFi, breaking $30 today. Any thoughts on this one?
I mean, look, it speaks to, I think everything Noto is doing is phenomenal. Disruptive finance, I think more and more is going to get a multiple. And this is like another example. Like if I'm betting on a CEO, I'll bet on Anthony.
Another name, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. Grab, Southeast Asian company.
Look, man, every time, every time I'm in Asia, and I'll be there next month, and I see a Grab, I think of you. It's like, and it's funny, just spend so much time in like Indonesia and Malaysia, especially like in like Southeast Asia. Like, this is like just so underestimated in terms of what they're doing and the opportunity. So it's one, like, I think you've been like 100% on, and I have a unique perspective. I mean, I've met with them, but also just spending so much time in the region, it's very underestimated what they're doing here.
Right. Right. I love it. And then Robinhood. Any thoughts on this one? I know Tom Lee does have them in his grain shots ETF.
That's another. I mean, look, I think they're disrupting, that they're changing the game. But it's another one, like when you think about like CEO strategy, you've had interview, a bunch of like so insightful. You're betting on the strategy and the CEO and the management team.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Last three personal questions. Favorite movie?
Animal House.
That's such a good. That is like one of my top 5.
And how about this? If I met someone that said they've never seen Animal House, I have to delete and block them from my iPhone.
I would not like talk to them
No.
ever again. Like, it's a 1978 classic. I mean,
I'd have to do it. Just if you've never seen Animal House or Godfather, I don't think we could be friends.
I don't think so. I really don't think.
No.
No, we cannot be friends. Favorite food?
Pizza, New Jersey.
I love it.
I mean, that's core. Best pizza in my, this obviously New York, Staten Island.
Okay, and this is gonna be a hard one for you, but who's your favorite CEO right now operating the public markets? I mean, I know you cover a lot of them, but anyone that really, it could be underrated, it could be a big name, but any CEO.
I mean, to me, like my favorite CEO and what they're doing, it's still Godfather of AI Jensen, because he has. We're not even doing this conversation if it's not for him. Like, what that dude's done is unbelievable, and he's like as humble as they come, and he's just a great human, and yeah, he's Mount Rushmore, right? Be a statue of him somewhere.
I love it. Dan Ives, thank you so
Thanks,
much
everyone.
for taking the time. There's his
You're
Twitter.
the best.
You guys can follow him there. Dan, hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you,
See ya.
Dan.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks, there you go. We got some updates from Mr. Dan Ives. Dude, he sounded kind of bullish on Grabby Grab. Said he's been to the region a couple times. I mean, if we get an update from Wedbush in the coming months with a price target on Grab, that would definitely be exciting. Grab really doesn't have the type of institutional exposure that like a Wedbush. I mean, they have some of the other banks in Southeast Asia, but no one big that covers the name institutionally. So the fact that he says that he feels they are underrated for what they're doing was very exciting. 649 right there. You got on Grab. We did get to 651. 651. So we did break 650 at one point, which is not too bad. There you go. There you go. I also agree with him, dude. For those that have not watched Animal House, I mean, what the heck are you doing? This is a freaking 1978 classic. This and The Godfather. For those that haven't watched it, I mean, you should probably stop what you're doing right now and go watch these films today. So 1000% in agreement with Mr. Dan Ives. We tend to agree on a lot of things, and Animal House is another one of those things we agree on. So very, very happy to be on the same playing field with Mr. Dan Ives on that concept. So, dude, no one snitch on me to Steve, okay? No one clip that and send it to Steve, because Steve is going to go crazy if he sees those 2 minutes. He'll actually lose his freaking mind, bro. You will lose his freaking mind. That was good, though. I played it off pretty damn good, bro. I mean, dude, he said if you don't watch Animal House, he's going to block you. What else am I supposed to say? I had to freaking say I've watched it. I've been to a house before with animals. I used to have a cat. Pretty much counts. Like, that's not, it was the cat was an animal inside my house. Like, it's not that crazy. So What was I supposed to say, bro? Just like when Tom Lee said, happy birthday. Like, what am I supposed to say? Oh, no, Tom, it's not my birthday. Like, no, you don't correct those guys. Like, yeah, of course. Like, I get it. So there you go. There you go. Grab right there. 650. Trying to break above Tesla at 442. Palantir 179. Hoodie 124. S&P 664. Folks, we're green on the day pretty much across the board. SoFi hitting 30. AMD 161. I'll be back for the market close, and we'll see how this ends up playing out. But so far, it looks like to start off the day, not too bad with some of the green, which is nice. Dude, if Steve sees that segment, he's gonna get so mad. But it is what it is, you know. We had to do what we had to do. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. All right, word of the day. Word of the day. Dude, I don't know how to say this shit. AO day? No one can even get mad at me about this one, bro. Like, I don't think any of you guys have heard this before. AO day?
Ow, die.
Okay, see, like, how am I supposed to do? A traditional Vietnamese outfit with a long slit tunic worn over wide trousers.
Ow, die.
I'll die. Okay. Oh, I think I've seen this before. I feel like I've seen this out before. Okay. That's what you got. I'll die. That is our word of the day. I said AO day, bro. I said AO day. That's so bad. All right. So we will see what we have later throughout the day. Again, Trump should be having some press conference soon around autism and Tylenol, or Tylenol, however you guys say it. And so we'll get some updates on that in the market close. We don't have an earnings today, but we do have earnings throughout the rest of the week. Bitmine is down on the day. I think it's pretty healthy that Bitmine's taking a bit of a breather as Ethereum takes a break. I don't know if it's like an immediate buy the dip, but if this kind of consolidates around this range, then maybe 55 is not too bad for those that have been looking for some entry. 55.92, that's down about 8.7%. And then Tesla breaking over 440. Grab volume is 25 million, trying to break 651. So we're going to see if that can happen. NVIDIA 175, Palantir 179, Hoodie 124 is getting added to the S&P 500 today. And then the S&P 664.98 is what we've got there. So there you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll be back for the close. Everyone go get some lunch, and we'll be back in the next couple hours. And again, if you have not watched Animal House, I really do think, along with Dan Ives, it is something that you should be watching. And if you haven't watched it, really you should be asking yourself why you have gone so long with that 1978 classic. So I really would recommend people to watch that movie and be more well educated on the nature of pop culture. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back on the market close. No one tell Steve, please. No one tell Steve. Bye, everybody. Have a good one. See you guys in a few hours.